So in today's video we are gonna see, what if Deku became Power Ranger and had Harem, MHA x Power Rangers? Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is Power Rangers Heroic Guardians by Maestros de los Sombras. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. Lord Draken is a villain who, supposedly, only appears once in the Power Rangers' lifetime. Someone with such great power, even capable of wielding the Master Heart and rewriting reality in his own image, is someone who should never, ever be allowed to exist. Merging so many powers wouldn't necessarily be possible. His heinous act of disrupting the morphic web in such a manner, by harvesting so many powers, it was something the emissaries and morphic masters weren't prepared for. But it was enough to bring the Green Dragon Ranger back to life to put an end to Draken one way or another. Even if Draken survived, even if later, thanks to his 2 power coins, the Draken Rangers were created. Farkas, Bulkmeyer. Like the Draken Ranger Brook, the vengeful Kia Kyautl. As the Draken Ranger Azul, Trini Kwan. Like the Draken Yellow Ranger, Scorpion. Like the Draken Ranger Negra, Kimberly Hart. As the Ranger Slayer, Ranger Draken Pinken Thomas Oliver, Lord Draken himself with his power of Draken Ranger became. Even after all that, Draken was finished. Draken was no longer the tyrannical ranger of his dimension. He had changed, even if no one in any other dimension dared to truly believe it. Her survival after Kimberly was taken over by Dark Spectre was largely pure luck, and her near death, the release of all the corrupted energy still dwelling within the Green Ranger's power coin, was what brought the Morphic Masters back to sanity and actually allowed the Rangers to stop the invasion of Dark Spectre's dark virus, which was allowing him to take control of hundreds, if not thousands of Power Rangers across dimensions. Upon discovering that he was still alive and still badly wounded, after Kimberly stuck that arrow in his chest, Lord Draken looked for food, and when he recovered, he hid in his own dimension and searched as much as he could, discovering that everything had returned to normal. How long were he and Kimberly outside of that dimension, to allow the cities to be rebuilt, the Sentry Rangers defeated and the governments around the world restored? He, Lord Draken, began stealing food in his own dimension and looking for ways to survive, without being discovered that it was him. After several months of stealing food and being able to begin a new journey around the world, Draken found that humans discovered the coming of other enemies, so they developed their own Ranger technologies. Ranger teams Draken was already familiar with, having stolen at least one morpher from each team. The humans called this the Ranger Network, several teams operating simultaneously, around the world, under the command of an organization called the Hexagon. So Draken figured they were more like some kind of Ranger soldiers with different motifs and themes. These teams were Lightspeed Rescue, SPD, Operation Overload, RPM, Revolution Sport Minute, and Beast Morphers, all of those powers acting at the same time, to protect the planet, and, oddly, that seemed fine to him. Out of all of them, he got to take some of their powers, and they were all teams with powers created by humanity, rather than powers coming from alien technology or magic. Draken hid and took his time, deciding what to do and how to act. Finally, he decided to step forward, not for reconquest, but for the protection of others. He knew that the RPM and the Beast Morphers were Ranger teams from other dimensions, and were perhaps the only 2 dimensions he ever visited. All the other teams he attacked were always, thanks to time travel, constantly moving into the future. He removed his tattoos at a tattoo parlor in Singapore and even changed his hairstyle. Immediately after that, he knew he had to break away from Tommy Oliver, so Draken gave several government agencies sensitive information about their own terrorist groups and was granted citizenship in those countries and a new identity, as Thomas C. Marshall. This allowed him to create the Dragon Corporation, focused on technological development, managing to create what the media described as magnificent, futuristic technologies. Soon, Ranger technology development organizations were asking for corporate partnerships to leverage Dragon Corporation's technologies. The corporation's chairman and Singapore's richest man, Thomas C. Marshall, openly and without holding his back, asked for the opportunity to work with them on Ranger technology. Seeing how the man was, supposedly, clean, these organizations accepted Draken's request, unaware that it was him, and worked together, with his corporation, allowing Draken to develop new morphers for a new generation of Rangers, and also allowed him to develop a new command center for future Rangers, and thanks to his own interdimensional travel technology, then he didn't need more. After 6 years of hard work, Draken had just created the morphers of the heroic guardians, thanks to the fact that he was able to reconnect everything with the morphic network, without being killed by the morphic masters, and he could only think that this was something they wanted to happen. With the morphers ready, Draken stopped, just for a second. And he developed something else. He saw the Dino Thunders having special powers. Speed, Iron Skin, Terra Scream, Invisibility and Camouflage. He saw more of the same with the SPDs. Phase through solid objects, energy shielding, aura redding, molecular duplication and alteration. Sydney has the power to transform her molecular structure to that of anything she touches, such as gold or diamonds. This grants her the physical properties and strength of the object she touches, and then with the Operation Overload, robotic physiology, formerly, and super strength, enhanced hearing and telescopic vision, super agility, enhanced jumping, super speed, invisibility and enhanced memory, mercury mimicry, mercury force field projection and mercury strikes. So he built a machine that was supposed to give powers to the rangers of the dimension he was sending this to. He carried a journal that would tell the entire story of all the ranger teams, including his own, and so, finally, he left his power coin as well, on the ship. He ordered the ship's artificial intelligence to search for dimensions in which the morphic network or something similar existed, like MorphX, giving it orders to search for a danger that others could not stop, unless the Power Rangers were needed and to transport themselves to that place. His AI computer activated interdimensional travel, and he was discovered by the Morphic Masters while moving through hypertime. They saw Draken's act for what it was, an attempt to right his wrongs, and they redirected the ship to safety in the dimension to which Draken had decided to send it. And the first to discover everything would be Izuku Midoriya, team leader and the powerful, green-white guardian. In another dimension, 80% of all people on Earth acquired superpowers, thanks to the morphic network, and over time, the powers evolved into hundreds of forms, until they were reclassified as emitter and mutant. And with the appearance of the powers, renamed as quirks or koseis, came chaos, thanks to the fact that several of the gifted ones decided to become supervillains. This in turn led to the emergence of superheroes and superhero academies. But for the other 20%, life was summed up in normal, old-fashioned jobs, if you will. Not unlike the countless incarnations of rangers that have appeared around the world. Humans are powers of their own, but with ranger uniforms, weapons, and Zords to their advantage. Crystal was a criminal lord from the Allegrando system, and was one of the few who survived his fight against the mighty Morphin Power Rangers and even survived Zordon's healing energy wave and used to be a member of Divatox's army. Crystal explored the universe, until he found a cave on a shadowy planet. There, he was bathed in the power coming from 4 murals, which enclosed the essence of very ancient monsters, ancient enough to have the dubious pleasure of fighting for one of the first ranger teams in the history of the universe, the Ranger Squadron, who would later become the Emissaries. Right now, Crystal, with all the dark power he could muster, headed to a point as far away in space as that planet, managing to find a huge spaceship transporting prisoners. He, using his powers, attacked the place, destroyed all the guards and all the crew, even the ship's helmsman, and then freed all the prisoners, who swore to follow him. And so, Crystal made his way to Earth, determined to conquer it. Only for his ship to be sucked into a wormhole and appear in another dimension. A dimension that Rangers never had. A young human was told he lacked a Kosei. After all this time, he still admired superheroes, wishing with all his might to become one of them. And that desire that never waned was what awakened the powers of the heroic guardians. The ship's AI began sending telepathic messages to this young man, Midoriya Izuku, to come in search of Dagoba Municipal Beach and fulfill his destiny as the leader of a new team of rangers. Midoriya, Izuku looked at the teacher. Please read the first paragraph on page 10. Name: Izuku Midoriya. Age: 10 years. Hair and eye color: green. Favorite food: katsudon. Random data: he shares a birthday with Ichigo Kurosaki. They're both cancers. But Izuku almost completely ignored his teacher's orders. He was a hero and Kosei's nerd. He didn't need to look at the page. When the Kosei's era began, governments collapsed, social status and what it meant to be human ceased to matter. The advance of civilization ground to a halt. Yamamura Ichigo, former Minister of History, once said that If it hadn't been for that technological stagnation, we could be populating other planets right now. The teacher and some classmates looked at Midoriya. He always provided quality information, adding some facts that were lost in the middle. Whether it was history or Koseis, the villains were the first to emerge, and soon, those who called themselves heroes began to fight these villains. Lacking the strength to implement long-term policies, Japanese society became a struggle for short-term security. Izuku closed the book. Heroes became law enforcement officers, but in a much more obvious way. In that first era of change, they weren't much different from police officers, the army, or the secret police, and after that, the founding of the HPSC was implemented and hero academies appeared, when they became something close to celebrities, with All Might at the forefront in the current era, as the pillar of peace and stability for the country. Excellent, Midoriya, the teacher said before continuing with the lesson himself. Although everyone thought it wasn't worth it, Izuku gave them more information. Finally, the bell rang after 2 hours of history class, math class, and literature class. It was time to go home. Deku may have a lot of knowledge, his old friend and current tormentor and bully Bakugo Katsuki was saying. A young boy of the same age, with blonde hair and red eyes, with a powerful explosive Kosei, and was talking to his classmates, but he wants to be a hero, without a Kosei. How stupid, who's ever heard of that? No stupid hero academy would ever accept him. Izuku sighed at that and bowed his head, as he began to walk towards his home, and some memories of the past flooded his mind. Memory, you should give up, said an elderly doctor with a bald head, hair on the sides, and a bushy mustache. Those cruel words caused the doll the boy was holding to fall. What are you talking about, doctor? Asked his mother, a woman also with green hair and eyes of the same color, as she placed a hand on her son's shoulder. Is there a problem? The man nodded, and as he did so, he placed an X-ray of Izuku. Ma'am, you're third generation in Kosei terms, aren't you? Inko nodded. That's right. I have a low-powered telekinetic Kosei, she demonstrated by pulling Izuku's doll into her hand. My husband can breathe fire. All Kosei users have only one phalanx on their right pinky toe, but your son has two. This means he will never have a Kosei. End of memory. Izuku woke up from his deep thought. He saw the street was blocked off and a giant villain was standing there. Before him, everyone recognized the wood-clad, blue-suited hero. It's Kamui Woods, and I think he's going to use. Yes, his special move. Sensei Hitsubaku. Kamui jumped and brought his fist back. Urushi sorrow when he went to extend his fist, to strike and capture his enemy. A girl appeared. Kanon. A voluptuous young woman with purple eyes with white pupils and long, elegant eyelashes. She has long, voluminous, creamy blonde hair that reaches her waist, with two shorter strands curled to frame her face that are slightly parted to her left. Her heroine outfit was a very skin-tight light purple and light cream color, accented with orange stripes. It features a pair of purple gloves with orange detailing on the cuff. The design is similar for her boots, which cut into her thigh in a deep V. She also wore a purple domino mask with horn-like protrusions on the sides. Hey everyone, I just started today. You can call me Mount Lady, please. Remember me. The little green-haired boy continued on his way, completely unaware that his idol, All Might, was in his city. He was also unaware that the most acclaimed hero of his country was at that moment chasing a villain made of sewer water. The only thing Izuku heard, while crossing a tunnel, was how the manhole cover flew and that same villain was now in front of him. But the boy was too scared, as to try to run away from him. What is this? Oh, I'm very lucky. An invisibility cloak. Size M. Don't worry little one, I'm just going to take your body. The villain began to enter through his nostrils, his ears and his mouth, entering his being, slowly. If he thinks he can capture me in my liquid state, he is very wrong. Don't worry about anything, I will take your identity for myself, eternally. The boy tried to kick or hit the villain, he tried to get him off his face, but it was impossible. I can't breathe. Is this how I'm going to die? I don't want to, I'm losing my strength. Please, I only wanted to be a hero, I only wished I had a Kosei, that I could help others. But I can't even help myself. On Dagoba Beach, buried beneath the sand, the ship activated and so did its AI. Project Power Rangers. Heroic Guardians, activated, Guardian of Valor. Found. The computer turned on and Izuku appeared on the screen. A person with the ability to take great risks and overcome fear. Found. User of the green heroic guardian power. Found. The ship activated and teleported Izuku away, leaving the confused sludge villain behind. Huh, was all the villain could say. Where's the kid? From the sewer, someone emerged. A blonde, muscular man. So here you were. Did you really think you could outrun me? You again. The villain growled, as he whipped out what looked like a multitude of arms and attempted to attack. The man clenched his fist. Texas smash. With a single punch, the villain was decomposed by the air pressure. Elsewhere, the heroine's Mirko, known for her rabbit-like features, such as her paws, round tail, and ears. Also the heroine Yukio, with short blonde hair and who had long bangs falling over the right side of her face covering her yellow, reptilian eye, who wore a matching green headband with 4 large, pale purple claws attached, covering the right side of her face, and a set of small dragon wings protruding from the back of her head, with an array of golden spiked cartilage piercings adorning her left ear. Her hero costume consists of a dark red traditional kipao with a pale green scale trim around the shoulders, which appears to only be cut off on the left side, and knee-high boots, a strap around the exposed thigh. Both disappeared, one of them in the middle of a jump, in a white lighter when she was about to transform into a dragon to fly through the city, and then, the heroine MT. Lady disappeared in a violet light, after capturing 3 ruffians. When Izuku woke up once more, he woke up in an unknown place. Huh. He began to get up, quite upset, while he saw the metallic walls full of lights and buttons. The ceiling was also metallic. Where am I? What happened to the villain? The door opened and he recognized both the blonde woman and the woman with long white hair, bunny ears and a white and violet leotard. Mount, Lady, Mirko, the boy asked. Where are we? It's okay, Deku. The boy has woken up. Mirko spoke to nothing, increasingly angry, but her annoyance subsided a little, seeing Yukio approach the boy and examine him. What is all this and how did you bring us? Nice to meet you, Midoriya Izuku. I'm Deku, the AI of this ship. The Astro Megaship is a vast spacecraft comprised of 6 decks with at least 16 living quarters, machines designed to create food out of thin air called synthetrons, a hangar full of devices that house the Zords, and myself, the AI. Deku. In addition to the Zord hangar, the megaship features 6 crew decks containing a vault where the Drakenmorphers are stored at the heart of the ship. Explained the IA. Deku. The Astro Megaship is capable of faster than light travel, which allowed it to travel between star systems. From the ship's bridge, the megaship's crew operates the entire vessel. From there, the ship's steering controls, sensors, weapons systems, communications equipment, as well as myself, are accessed. The bridge was located on Megadeck 1 along the front of the Astro Megaship. Simu Deck, located on Megadeck 5, was the training room. The Simudeck's advanced holographic and robotic technologies allow Rangers to practice their skills in a realistic and safe environment. The Simu Deck can be programmed to display any type of location and can also create automated opponents for the Rangers to fight, such as Craterites. Since the Simu Deck can be programmed to recreate any environment, it can also be used for non-combat purposes, such as reenactment. Nobody said anything. I'll explain everything better. If you come to Simu Deck, please follow the lights. The 4 followed the lights on the floor, down the hallway, to a room with double doors, which opened automatically. There, a program executed, and before everyone else, a hologram of Thomas Marshall, the villain's current nickname, appeared. They're probably very confused as to how they got here and what's happening. Said the hologram. To explain everything concisely, I need you to listen to my story and then everything will be clear and obvious. In my dimension, there is a group of heroes called Power Rangers and they only appear when evil arises. So, when the evil space witch Rita Repulsa was released from her container, an intergalactic being named Zordon brought to her side 5 teenagers who were in harmony with a source of power, called simply, Power Coins. Under her guidance, Jason, Billy, Zach, Kimberly and Trini, they were able to concentrate the power of the dinosaur, obtaining suits that gave them powers and transformed them into the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. When Rita began to see that her plans were failing and that she was not advancing in the conquest of the Earth, she decided to create her own ranger, with the power of her own currency, the Green Dragon Coin. And it was I who was forced to use it, after she brainwashed me. She ordered me to destroy the Rangers, but I couldn't do it because I was brainwashed, and when the Rangers destroyed the Sword of Darkness, I was very confused. I moved from city to city for a long time, until Rita returned to me, and because of my weakness, I followed her once more, but this time, we managed to conquer several cities and left Angel Grove, the city the Rangers were defending, for last. No one said anything, everyone was engrossed in the story, though the heroines, while fascinated by the Zords the Rangers were driving, were also fearful of what the HPSC might do if they found a way to acquire the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers power coins and morphers. I managed to infiltrate the command center when Zordon sent Jason to acquire the power of the White Light, and I was able to defeat him, thus merging the powers of the Green Dragon Ranger and the White Tiger Ranger. Then, at that moment, I betrayed Rita, killing her and taking all the power for myself. I faced the Rangers, managing to acquire the coins of the Black Mastodon, the Yellow Saber-toothed Tiger, and the Red Tyrannosaurus, creating a legion of Sentinel Rangers and taking the name Lord Draken for myself. But even this situation didn't make Kimberly, the pink pterodactyl, give up, and she tried to defeat me in my quarters. But I was better. I had the power of 2 Rangers fused together, and when I defeated her, I used dark magic, brainwashing her, creating my right-hand woman, the Ranger Slayer. The heroines and the young man were amazed by the Rangers' outfits and skills. I learned how to travel between dimensions and began killing Rangers from different eras, until the creators of all these powers, Alien Rangers, Zeo, Turbo, Space, Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, Time Force, Wild Force, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, Operation Overload and Animal Rage. I visited other dimensions. Not everything was time travel, like the RPM and Samurai dimensions. The story wasn't hard to follow. A man became a supervillain and hunted down everyone who could stop him. Mirko whispered, RPM. Izuku and Yukio answered, revolutions per minute. Similar to the turbos, Izuku said, that is, with vehicles. Finally, when I sent Kimberly to our counterpart's universe, where there were other younger and inexperienced Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they freed the Ranger Slayer from my control. She told them everything and began to help her and tell all the Rangers, from all eras, to be very careful. But that didn't stop me, because I acquired almost all the Ranger powers. The heroines and Izuku growled at this, but the emissaries, something similar to the angels, or prophets, of the creators of the Morphic Network, that is, the deities of the network and those responsible for the existence of the Rangers, allowed me to take unspeakable power, only to set the final trap and be able to defeat me. I took thousands of Ranger powers, because each power, each morpher, accesses the Morphin network in a different way, and thus I acquired the greatest power in the Ranger multiverse, the Heart of the Master. I am not the hero of any story, so I remade the story in my own style, acquiring many powers from the comics, flight, super strength, speed, etc. My enemies were my own subconscious, telling me that this was wrong. Faced with this state of mental weakness and paranoia, the Tommy Oliver that I defeated revived through the emissaries, returned their memories to his friends and they counterattacked me, but Tommy was able to defeat me and take away my power. I traveled between dimensions again, finally returning to my world. I joined my enemies and, taking the power of the white coin, I shared it, creating the Draken Rangers. After defeating my enemies, I went into hiding, but I watched with pleasure and, at the same time, displeasure, as humans created their own Ranger powers, but serving the government. The existence of Hexagon, who answer to the United States Department of Defense and have Ranger powers, doesn't matter, but what I achieved. I created a technology company and created these morphers, so that a new generation, in some distant dimension, can defend themselves, should enemies arise. These powers exist to defend the world from aliens, demons, or monsters, and they couldn't be used if an evil weren't going to arise, which can't be stopped in any other way. Here are the 6 heroic Guardians morphers. A small gate opened and there were the morphers, although one of them flew out in a golden light and the green one flew to Izuku's hand, who caught it. Seeing that it was a green glove, I know that Deku will prevent anyone with a dark heart from entering the ship and will prevent them from taking the morphers. I've seen that this dimension has superpowers, so I hope you know how to use the morpher. And in the very curious case that you want to be a hero, but don't have powers, then ask Deku to allow you to take the anointed crystal. This is something I forgot to tell you. When my powers were taken away, this caused an explosion of the morphic network, which gave many people the basic powers of the Rangers, even without any of them having obtained a morpher or anything similar. They were simply endowed with these powers, and I tried to pass it on, because I discovered the existence of superpowers present in the Ninja Storm, the Dino Thunder, the SPD, among many other Rangers. Good luck, heroic Guardians Rangers. The message ended and Izuku took the glove in his hands. It was white with green metal or plastic details and stared at it. Then, he looked at Yukio, Mirko and MT. Lady me, am I really? Yukio knelt down, until she was at his level. Why do you want to be a hero, Izuku-kun? The blonde asked. Save others, Izuku said, putting on the white glove with the green details. Say out loud, hero of valor. Izuku clenched his fist. Hero of valor. Izuku was enveloped in a green light, which disappeared, and he was now wearing a green spandex suit, black gloves, a black cape, and a helmet. Lord Draken's legacy, Green Draken, heroic guardian. Please, say out loud, charisma hero, then, pull the protruding ring. A female voice asked, which frightened Yagi Toshinori, when he saw that strange elongated golden artifact on his wrist. Charisma hero, Yagi asked, pulling the ring. A golden light enveloped him, and a golden lycra suit with blue gloves, a blue cape, and a helmet appeared over his body and head. Amazing. Welcome to Power Rangers. Heroic Guardian said the voice. I'm Deku, an AI. The morpher will slowly heal you from your injuries, but you'll need to wear it on your wrist for as long as possible, as the damage is extensive. It's a miracle you're alive. Yagi, also known as All Might, got a little depressed. Even if they are the creation of a supervillain like Lord Draken, Zordon's rules of Eltar must be followed. Do not abuse your powers to gain fame and fortune. Do not escalate a battle unnecessarily. Do not use powers meant to defend people for your own benefit. And do not use Zords only when the monster grows larger. Deku explained to the heroines and Izuku. As other people appear, they have the characteristics expected of Rangers, then the morphers will automatically go to them. Izuku nodded. Please Midoriya Izuku-kun. Exit and head to the right, then go left and it will be the 6th door on your right. Izuku nodded. Being followed by the heroines, the door opened. It seemed to be a medical room, but what caught their attention was a large glass tube. Please, enter here. If the masters of the grid were to disagree, then I could not do this. Lord Draken knew that I was very advanced, but not so advanced as to know of the divine will of these beings. He explained. While Izuku entered the machine, many Rangers have had special powers. A screen lit up. Andros and Zane, inhabitants of KO-35, 2 of the Space Rangers, both had telekinesis. Maya and Karone, 2 of the Galactic Rangers had animal communication or telekinesis. Katie Walker, super strength and Trip, psychic abilities, both will be members of the Time Force Rangers. 2 members of the Wild Force Rangers possessed animal communication, Cole Evans, or a 6th sense, Merrick Baladin. Thanks to the Dino Gems, the Dino Thunder Rangers each possessed super speed, Connor McKnight, skin hardening, Ethan James, sonic scream, Kira Ford, invisibility, Tommy Oliver, and camouflage, teleportation, ninja revelation and super speed, Trent Fernandez Mercer. There are many other examples, and for that, this camera was created. Izuku was enveloped in green, yellow, and gray lightning. When Izuku came out, he found that he now had the powers of Lord Draken's divine form. When the megalomaniac acquired his black suit with the master's heart on his chest, flight, super strength and energy projection. In Izuku's case, he flew up to the roof, while the heroines calmed him down and instructed him on how to land. They decided it was enough for one day, as they temporarily left the ship, only to cross paths with a confused All Might, who offered to see the story of Draken and the Rangers. And even he thought it was too much for one day. They would come back tomorrow and look for the other heroic guardians. A month before everything was set in motion, in order to search for and select the other members of the Power Rangers, heroic guardians team, the heroines Mirko, Yukio, and MT. Lady took Izuku, with whom they had been secretly training to control the powers granted by Deku, to a place where quite a bit of chaos was occurring. They knew that Izuku had no experience fighting villains. Only against them, who felt like older sisters, and honestly, it was very likely that they were crazy, doing what they wanted to do. They decided to look for criminals and escort Izuku. While still wearing his Ordera high school clothes, they would let Izuku face the villain, demonstrate his Koseis, and then intervene, as if they had just realized the danger, making sure to allow Izuku to take the credit for the fight and say before the civilians that they would take the green-haired young man as their pupil. And just then, they came across this group of criminals, Death Angel's gang, who were defeating Native and Mr. Brave. Moonfall. The rabbit heroine launched herself at one of these three criminals, who were all dressed the same. They wore black armor and top hats, but with masks included. She launched herself at the leader, who was wearing an orange mask, who blocked her enemy's kick with his arms. Doragon Tiru, Dragon Tail Swipe, the second villain, wearing a violet mask, tried to jump, only to receive a tail whip from a Yukyu in its special form. Dragon claws instead of hands, dragon legs, tail and wings. Kurosabu Panchi, Nomaru Baruto, Crossbow Punch. Normal build, the one with the purple mask deflected MT. Ladies Punch, then counterattacked the blonde heroine, while asking her why she didn't change size and crush him, but she only focused on deflecting her rival's fists with her arms. Hirokiku, Hajishirazu. Heel Kick, Shameless MT. Lady's foot rose and struck her enemy in the groin, who shrieked Horizontal Catapult Fighter. Combat Force. The horizontal kick connected with the criminal's temple, leaving him on the ground. With the other two heroines barely getting up, Izuku knew it was his moment, using his super speed, technically inherited from Lord Draken, dodging passers-by. Tokyo Smash. The orange-masked villain spat saliva and flew away, quickly catching up with him and pointing his index finger at where he was charging an aquamarine green energy. Rail Gun. Knockout. It wasn't an all-erase energy cannon, but Izuku thought of it as something to hit an almost physical energy, leaving his enemy unconscious. The one with the purple mask threw himself at Izuku, who flew to avoid being hit, causing laughter from passers-by and heroes, seeing the villain fall to the ground and scrape his chin. Heel Kick. Izuku descended, giving him a heel kick and leaving him unconscious on the ground. While Native and Mr. Brave apologized to everyone for not being able to do anything against the villains, other heroes like Death Arms and Freaky Dragon tried to scold Izuku, but Mirko, Yukyu and MT. Lady came to the boys' defense, and even hours later on TV All Might said Izuku was a hero when he faced the villains and talked about what it was like. The soul of a hero, and the heart of a hero. At this, the director of the HPSC and the Prime Minister of the Security Department had to bite their backs in anger, as they couldn't go against the number 1, number 5, number 10, and number 123 heroes, so Izuku was praised by everyone and even got a direct path to the main hero academies, UA and Shinkatsu. Mirko, Yukyu and MT. Lady accompanied Izuku to his home, where Inko had hundreds of questions, mainly about Izuku's safety. The heroines explained how Izuku proved to be very brave and how they were going to sponsor him. They explained that Izuku told them about how he awakened these powers the day before and it only helped because, supposedly, his body moved before he could think. They promised to help him train and would be by his side at all times, until he entered UA. Inko only thanked them for also believing in her son's dream. When Katsuki saw on the news how Izuku had this super strength Koseis and that he fought side by side with professional heroes, he bit his tongue and simply stopped talking to Izuku, while his schoolmates began to surround him and he began to demonstrate his super strength, flight and energy Koseis. 03. The Mineral Emperor. Main universe of the Power Rangers. Where the vast majority of the series we've seen have taken place, from MMPR to Dino Thunder and jumping to Operation Overload, Animal Fury, Samurai, Megaforce, Ninja Steel and Dino Fury, because Mystic Force, RPM, Dino Charge and Beast Morphers take place in other universes. The villain formerly known as Crystal had now been imbued with the power of some enemies of the Squadron Rangers, whom these same Rangers had never faced, because they hid on that desolate and distant planet. When Crystal reached them, they gave him their powers, transforming him into the Mineral Emperor, capable of using mineral gems and metallic ores. This new enemy began to travel the universe, in the form of a meteorite, until he was able to encounter something very interesting. In this new universe, the Power Rangers still existed, but something happened to them at some point in history and they became a force that hunted criminals and seemed to have only certain special abilities. Something he verified when he traveled to the planet Jekken, where the Alpha Space Patrollers were arresting two alien criminals, one whose head resembled an elongated crown upwards and another with the head of an isosceles made of a red metal. He defended them both, by catching these apparent, space cops. The two criminals beat the Alpha Space Patrollers until they were unconscious and stole their ship, then disconnected all the systems and fled the planet, along with the Mineral Emperor. They repeated this same thing on other planets, hunting down Alpha Space Patrollers, saving criminals, rallying them to the Mineral Emperor's cause, and using the EPA ships as decoys, abandoning them on desolate planets and reconnecting their tracking devices. Taking over a larger ship each time, and the larger the ship, the more criminals they would find inside, until finally taking over an EPA space train. Previously, the vehicle used by the Mineral Imperials allowed them to have around 80 fugitives from justice, whom the Mineral Emperor used as his private army, saving the criminals from the space train and thus increasing their numbers. Soon, names like Mineral Emperor, Master of the Mitre, and Pyramid were recognized as S-class criminals for the PEA, already known for traveling on a space train and collecting more criminals for their cause, by attacking the PEA head-on, leaving few survivors and only so that it was known that it was them. "My legions," said the Mineral Emperor, "on this day, we are the ones who will achieve what no one else could ever achieve. I don't think the EPA is aware of it yet. But they are the ones in the worst possible situation and thanks to my powers, legacies of those who once faced the Squadron Rangers, it is we who will take the world by storm." He pointed into the void and everyone turned, watching as behind the windows, what at first glance was a black hole appeared, but it glowed red. The EPA is a group of rangers who hunt criminals, for the Space Rangers and the Alien Rangers, and they are not alone, we all know that. All of us know the horrible truth. Traveling to Earth means traveling to the home of the Power Rangers, and we don't know how many are there. Therefore, I propose, we travel to another universe, one where the Power Rangers don't exist, and create our own empire, starting with Earth. Everyone praised the Mineral Emperor's plan as the ship passed through the portal. The Mineral Emperor decided to send two aliens from the weakest sector of his prison base of operations to Earth to see what this new Earth's defenses would be like, but not before noticing the existence of humans with superpowers. But he needed to see it for himself. Everyone in Japan learned, thanks to the HPSC, about two meteorites that were about to hit Tokyo, but soon there were heroes flying through the skies, trying to stop the meteorites, only to be torn apart by both meteors, which were heading towards the ground, with nothing stopping them. Learning that more than 30 heroes had been destroyed by the meteors was something unexpected for the HPSC president, who immediately knew that these were not normal meteors. But All Might was already on solid ground, waiting, clenched his fist. His healing thanks to the heroic morpher was at 30% for the moment, so he could launch this special move without problems. United States of Smash. The punch pierced only one of the two meteors, releasing from its interior a clam-headed, gray-bodied alien, who launched himself at the hero. Nebraska Texas Smash. All Might's punch sent the alien flying backwards. Death Arms returned to the charge. Jab Cross. The gray-haired hero used two MMA moves, taking advantage of his great physical strength, but one of those two aliens, which had a head reminiscent of a bowling ball, grabbed his hand and threw him on his back, then created a bowling ball out of nowhere and threw it at Death Arms, who stood up and seeing it coming, extended both hands, letting the bowling ball come guillotine choke. He tried to grab it with his hands and use his legs to stop it, only to have it run over him, leaving him badly injured. Izuku arrived at the same place and launched an attack. Hero of Valor. When everyone turned to see, Izuku was already wearing a green lycra suit with white details, black gloves, a black cape, and a helmet. Legato de Lord Draken. Green Draken, Heroic Guardian Brave. The green-white Heroic Guardian threw himself at the villain, unsheathing the white sword, the Sword of Darkness, which Tommy used when controlled by Rita, and in his other hand, the Dragon Dagger, launching two precise attacks against his enemy, who retreated, before receiving a kick from the green and white hero. Izuku quickly moved back, before throwing a dagger into the sky and using the white sword to launch an energy slash, destroying the alien. He saw the other approaching him, but he was already wielding the dagger with his other hand, and when he stuck it in the ground, he released green lightning, which electrocuted the alien, before turning on him and sheathing his weapons, then delivering several blows wrapped in lightning, until making the second alien explode. All Might appeared and revealed his identity as the Golden, Heroic Guardian, Charisma Hero, so no one said anything to him. Immediately, All Might came to Green Draken's defense and said that the young man was his classmate from one of the 3 American hero academies. The Mineral Emperor began to laugh. Now this will be more fun. The heroines Mirko, Yukio, and MT. Lady were on the Astro Megaship when All Might spoke to Izuku. Thank you for coming. I know that young Midoriya now has the powers of Lord Draken. In his divine form, Izuku said calmly. He longed to go to the Astro Megaship gym to train, but whatever All Might was going to tell them was clearly important, so here he was. All Might nodded. And I've seen Draken's own files on Rangers who have achieved superpowers outside of Morph, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, Operation Overload, etc. They all nodded. Deka. How can I help you, Yagi-san? Could you please bring Midoriya Shonen's mother? The faces of the heroines and the young ranger showed surprise and curiosity. He gave them a serious look. I consider that if I'm going to start being sincere, then she should also have this information. When Inko arrived, she looked at everything with curiosity, then calmed down, seeing Izuku, along with his teachers. When she turned around she got a huge surprise, because Yagi had activated the switch of his Kosei. Hello, Midoriya-san, I have asked the artificial intelligence of the ship, Deka, to bring her. Well, I, like her son, also have a ranger power. The man showed the morpher on his wristband and Izuku showed his own morpher, which was to be grabbed from behind, with the power coin that fused the green Godzilla and the white tiger. So, All Might, Inko began. Clearly, this wasn't the first time she had entered the Astro Megaship. Why am I here? Do you also wish to help me with my new exercise routine? The green-haired matriarch asked with a sweet smile. Ever since Mirko, Yukio and MT. Lady took Izuku under their care, he has been exercising, had gone to a nutritionist and had gotten back to his slim and slender body. I know I can help there, Midoriya-san. All Might assured, but I have called you all, not only because I have learned that I can trust your son, but also because you 3 are the heroic tutors of Midoriya Shonen. I think you deserve to know that too. Everyone nodded, as they were guided by the number 1 hero, to a meeting room on the ship's 6 convenient seats, where everyone settled. The story I want to tell you goes back long before any of us were born. It's about the Age of Awakening. When the Koseis appeared, the word human being lost its meaning, especially among the mutant Kosei people. When the chaos of the self-proclaimed villains of that time began, among them all, a man with a Kosei named appeared, all for one, whose Kosei could take them from other people or grant them at will. Everyone was amazed and incredulous at such information. He moved the masses according to his plans, granted Koseis to those who wanted them, stripped many mutants of their conditions and granted them to others. This man took control of Japan in the blink of an eye, like a ruler of evil. On certain occasions, he could give a Kosei to someone who previously had one, and by doing so, both Koseis would merge. This man had a younger brother, with a weak body, and when a Kosei of accumulation of power was passed on to him, a new one emerged, by a Kosei unknown to both brothers. What kind of Kosei are we talking about, All Might? Mount, Lady asked. The heroines, Izuku and Inko herself, felt their bodies suffer from a cold sweat. One of being passed on through DNA, but that would be the same as handing you an empty glass, MT. Lady All Might explained that's how it was. Like the Kosei of accumulation and of transfer, they merged into one. But the younger brother knew he could never defeat his older brother, so he could only pass his own on to someone else, hoping that enough people would acquire it and thus, one day, he would be powerful enough to defeat his older brother. It was called One for All and I am its 8th user. A few years ago, I faced All for One and in his last attack, he destroyed my stomach and one of my lungs. I've been noticing certain groups of villains organize themselves very well and they are under their control, or at least I think so. Yukio gulped. But how could someone like that still be? At some point, he acquired a Kosei that stopped his aging or something similar, and he lived for years, facing all the One for All users, until I defeated him. Said All Might, we must control the situation with the aliens under the command of the Mineral Emperor. because we could be on the verge of a new age of chaos. Everyone nodded, just as the alarm sounded, alerting of a new alien. As they approached the computer room, they found that it was a being with the appearance of a white and violet angel, who was attacking the nearby heroes. Heroic Guardian. Red Riot and Heroic Guardian, Salmon Starlight, found Seideka, as two morphers flew out. All Might and Izuku looked at each other. Charisma Hero. Golden Heroic Guardian, Legado de Lord Draken. Green Dragon Heroic Guardian. As they transformed, they went towards the screens. Two motorcycles appeared outside the ship. Both heroes went for them, to move to the place where the new Rangers were. When Golden Heroic Guardian and Green Dragon Heroic Guardian arrived at the place, they saw a Red Ranger and a Salmon Ranger fighting the monster. The Red Ranger was wearing some sort of black armor over it, which looked like it was covered in red cracks, and he was using a gigantic hammer. Gentleman's Strike. Red Riot. The hammer drove back his enemy. Star Crossbow. Sidereal Arrows. The Salmon Ranger used her crossbow to force the monster back, also causing it to take some arrows. You don't seem to be doing too badly. Green Dragon leapt over them and brought the mouthpiece of his dragon dagger to the lips of his helmet, touched the valves, and green lightning struck the monster. Greetings, I am the Green Dragon. I am the Charisma, Golden Guardian All Might greeted, while the monster went towards him, but two large knuckle dusters appeared in his hands. Charisma Punch. The monster flew into the skies. Izuku leapt into the skies. Green Dragon Electric Cut. He exclaimed, as he launched a downward slash, leaving behind him a green aura, as the monster was destroyed. The other two Rangers agreed to accompany their green and gold companions, when two typical Formula 1 cars appeared, being driven to the Astro Megaship, where they saw the history of the Rangers from the unaltered timeline, then the history of Lord Draken and the creation of his morphers. Knowing they weren't alone in this war allowed the three teenagers to become friends, even though they lived and studied in opposite parts of the city. They received Zordon's message of rules and pledged to follow them completely. Midoriya Izuku, Yagi Toshinori, Kirishima Eijiro and Ashido Mina formed a friendship that would last for many years. They were Rangers, the teenagers were friends, and soon, they would enter the UA, waiting to see what the future held for them. After several months, almost a whole year, in fact, it was as if life gave Izuku all the time he needed to train alongside Eijiro, Mina, All Might, Ryukyu, and Mount Lady before the big day arrived. Izuku thought that without any of them, and especially, without Lord Draken's repentance, he could never have gotten there. Now he had superpowers, he had the friendship of three magnificent heroes who believed in him, and he had two friends with whom he was walking the path of the Heroic Guardians Rangers. And Izuku wanted to believe that all of them were really going to make it into UA, that all three of them were going to be in the hero department. After several hours and days of excitement, the big day finally arrived, and after taking the subway, Izuku, Eijiro and Mina found themselves in front of the UA arch. Seeing a sign that said, Entrance Exam Day, the three of them breathed, taking steps towards the main building. They followed the signs, to the conference room, where Present Mike would be the master of ceremonies and would explain to them what the practical exam would consist of. You have to go through the recreations of these cities and use your koseis to defeat the robots you will find. Robots marked as 1, 2 and 3. The more you defeat, before time runs out, then the more likely it will be that you will achieve your dream of belonging to our wonderful academy. Minutes later, Izuku was standing in his gym clothes, standing in front of one of the examination grounds. The gates opened, and Izuku surrounded himself with an aura of green lightning and ran at an astonishing speed. Behind him, all the other examinees began to jeer. That guy is really excited, said one of them. How stupid, said another, laughing openly. Present Mike didn't tell us to start. What are you waiting for? Present Mike asked them. In a real battle, there is no countdown, go now. This scared them all, and they started to chase after Izuku to get points. Izuku was already ahead of many, throwing super strength punches, which not only turned the UA robots into scrap metal, but in addition to all that, the green-haired boy could test his strength and speed. Meanwhile, he thought about the points he was earning. The green-haired boy jumped over a point 1 robot and landed on top of a point 2 robot, getting off it, forcefully pushing point 2 and destroying them both. 3 points. He jumped to dodge a pair of 2-point robots, and when he went to counterattack, Eijiro appeared to destroy him. "You're amazing, Izuku," Eijiro said, smiling. "Thank you," Izuku said, as he extended his hands towards an alley and fired a powerful energy blast and watched the parts fall. 9, 10, 13, 14, 16, 17 points. Guardian of the Empire. Red Dog. Guardian of the Empire. Alma de Roca. Guardian Rojo, Eijiro exclaimed. Appearing at that moment, his hands wrapped in his rock-hardened skin, and he began to destroy them, one after another. 50 and 51 or 52. A smile appeared on Izuku's lips as he ran alongside Eijiro, entering an alley where there were 4 of them. 2 1-point and 2 2-point, and starting to kick the robots, destroying them. -18, 20, 21, 23, he began to fly, looking for more robots, and upon seeing them, he descended with a kick, creating a crater, sending the 10 robots flying, as well as many small and large debris, which began to be destroyed, one after another. -24, 25, 28, 29, 30, 33, 35, I'm not bad. This year we have some very interesting test takers, said the director of UA. Heroes must have cunning, strength, and the ability to search and gather information. Each one fulfills 1 or 2 parts. Let's see how they handle pressure. With his finger, he pressed a red button, causing several buildings to move aside and a giant robot to appear. That robot is huge, one said. Is that the 0 point? Another asked. The UA is crazy, another shouted, and when he started running, everyone else followed. Eijiro and Izuku were about to run as well, but they heard a brown-haired girl trapped under the rubble left by the robot. They both ran, and with Eijiro's hardened fists and Izuku's super strength, they began to remove the rubble from on top of the girl. But the robot was almost on top of them, and the girl could only shed tears, while thanking them for trying to save her. With his eyes, Eijiro wanted to ask Izuku if they should transform and destroy the robot, but Izuku denied it, just flying until he was in front of him. And extending his right hand, he released a powerful laser blast, destroying the robot 0 points. Time was up, and everyone went home. At no point did the girl, named Uraraka Ochako, stop thanking them. And soon, as they were leaving, a boy named Iida Tenya said that they were both great heroes. The 18th heroine, Midnight, said that, soon, they would receive their acceptance or rejection letters in which department of the UA, heroism, support, business or general education, each of them would go to. If they didn't receive any cargo, it meant that they didn't enter the UA. In Midoriya Izuku's mind, All Might's words were still replaying through the holographic disc. Sighing, he went to tell his mother that he had managed to get into UA and that she had helped him design his costume. Inko told him a great truth. If the Rangers can't reveal their identities, then there's no point in your suit bearing a strong resemblance to a Ranger's. Inko had said, but it could also be obvious that Eijiro and Mina don't think the same and give their suits something like helmets with visors. Maybe you could ask for something similar to the UA, in green and gray, because you claim that, according to the Astro Megaship files, gray was the color he had when he acquired his superpowers, and I'm not just talking about those who gave him his Ranger suit. Izuku took Inko's words to heart and redesigned the entire costume in green with small green details, not forgetting the cape and helmet. He sought out all the hero costume manufacturing companies affiliated with UA, checked out their capabilities, and when he finished his research, entered the specifications for his costume, color, attachments, fabric type. He'd already added his height. He couldn't reveal that he was the Green Draken Ranger, but he could definitely make a difference if he became a professional hero. The aliens under the Mineral Emperor's command were still not fully known. And this had always been Izuku's dream, to be a hero. You should give up, kid, the doctor said, leaving Izuku in a state of shock, causing the boy to drop his All Might action figure. Inko looked at her son with great concern. What are you talking about, doctor? Is there something wrong with Izuku's Kosei? The elderly doctor nodded and directed their attention to the X-ray of the dark green-haired boy's foot. It took humanity too many attempts and failures to discern the origin of the so-called Kosei factor, until almost 2 centuries later, it was finally discovered, the pinky finger. In someone with a Kosei factor, there is only one phalanx. But your son has 2. This is decisive, your son is a Mukosei. End of memory. But here was her son. Her beloved treasure, her precious Izuku. His Kosei was multifaceted. Super strength, super speed, super agility, red energy emission, and flight. Dash dash, dash. Izuku was on his way to the prestigious UA that same day, after having used ranger teleportation to reach the gates of UA, entering and then using his super speed to be able to reach the classroom, when there were barely a few people. I'm Midoriya Izuku, I come from Oradera. We've met before, Eijiro said smiling, while Izuku signaled him not to reveal the ranger matter, to which the red boy nodded. Kirishima Eijiro, you know, his arm became like a rock, the hardening boy. Iida Tenya, I come from Some, and my Kosei is motor. He lifted his pants to reveal the exhaust pipes on his calves. A girl with shoulder-length brown hair and brown eyes greeted her. I'm Uraraka Ochako, I'm from Kaduma. My Kosei is zero gravity. A beautiful girl with short purple hair, whose Kosei gave her earlobes shaped like headphone jacks, nodded. Jiro Kyoka, I also come from Kaduma High School, and my Kosei is earphone jack. The door swung open violently and everyone stared at a boy with spiky blonde hair, red eyes, and a big smile. Izuku covered his face with his hand and groaned heavily. I'm Bakugo Katsuki, my Kosei is explosion. I come from Oradera High School and I hope you don't mind being supporting characters in my rise to the next #1 story. A female voice interrupted him. You're too rude, said a girl with long black hair tied in a ponytail with a long strand falling over her right eye. What stood out most about her wasn't how pretty she was, nor her large breasts, but her posture and way of speaking. Yayorozu Momo, heiress of the Yayorozu Corp. My Kosei is creation. Slowly, many more people entered, introducing themselves and taking their seats. Finally, a man with long black hair and thick, dark circles under his eyes entered the classroom. The man grabbed a yellow sleeping bag and rummaged through the interior. Finally, I'm Aizawa Shota, your homeroom teacher. I know this is sudden. Quote. He took out a lot of short-sleeved shirts and pants, both dark blue. The shirt seemed to have a large white U on it. The sleeves were red and white, and the pants had white lines on the inside, and it took a lot too much of imagination to see it as the letter A. But I want everyone to put on one of these and meet me at Training Camp Alpha, also known as the softball field. Hurry up and don't waste my time. And without another word, he left the classroom. The students looked at each other before each grabbing a suit and heading to the locker room. A few minutes later, they met up with Aizawa on the softball field, where they explained what they would be doing. A Kosei skill test, everyone present asked in astonishment. In reality, no one could quite believe his first day activity. Aizawa tossed a ball, which Izuku caught with his bare hand, grimacing. Midoriya, you finished first in the practical exam. Throw that ball, using your Kosei. Stand in the circle, no matter what you do, as long as you use your Kosei. Izuku nodded, before throwing the ball vertically upwards, turning around and concentrating his super strength and super speed. He jumped, doing a 360 turn in the air, kicking the ball far away and causing a sonic boom. Dorikoniku Taiga Kiku. Patata del Tiger Draconiano. -1678 meters. Excellent, Midoriya, said Aizawa, if we're talking about kicking strength. Asui, Iida, the dark green-haired frog girl with a bun and the blue-haired boy with glasses, looked at their teacher. Would any of you like to try to surpass your partner? One day I'm going to beat all of you and be the next #1. Bakugo roared. Don't think Deku can beat me. He grabbed another ball and threw it with all his might, sending out an explosion. Die. Is he dying? Everyone wondered. -602 meters. That thing is broken. Bakugo roared. Momo threw something bone-shaped at him and he bit it, while his eyes glowed red and smoke came out of his ears and head, returning to their place. Yayorozu, your turn. And then, she looked at them all and then at her tablet. Uraraka, you're next. They both nodded. Momo created a miniature cannon, long and thin, that fired 1,837 meters. Excellent. It was Ochako's turn. Infinity. Excellent. Asui Suyu performed best in the 50-meter long jump. Iida Tenya was the best performer in the 90-meter race. Everyone thought that Mineta Minoru was unnecessary, but he was the one who undoubtedly surpassed them all. In the side jump, when he imitated large bunches of grapes with his kosei, using them to bounce from one side to the other. No one's expelled. All the students present were grateful and relieved to hear that, while Mineta wept tears of blood, grateful for not abandoning UA on his first day there and would now have new opportunities to try to grope his classmates. You all did very well, and all of you managed to excel in 1, 2, or even 3 tests. Go to class. The next morning, the UA students, regardless of their department, general education, support, management, and most importantly heroism, had to overcome the reporters. They were all frantically trying to find out, what are classes with All Might like? A reporter asked, bringing the microphone closer to Kaminari Denki, who reappeared immediately nervous. But Eijiro stepped forward and ran a hand over her shoulder. We don't know. We're both in the general education department. The reporters immediately moved away. What are classes with All Might like? A rather crazy reporter asked, now to Izuku. I'm from the support department, excuse me. Izuku said with a gentle smile. The reporters moved away from him, but the teenager saw his friends and quickly raised his arm, before shouting Kyoka, Ochako, let's go quickly or Power Load Sensei will yell at us for being late to the workshop. Kyoka and Ochako looked at him gratefully and went ahead. Meanwhile, amidst the crush of reporters, we haven't even had our first class yet. But if I must say something, then I made the right decision in choosing UA as my alma mater, in allowing me to have the symbol of peace as my teacher. After 6 ordinary classes, where they had the wonder of being educated by professional heroes, such as Midnight equals Modern Art, Smentas equals Modern Literature and Present Mike equals English. Finally the afternoon hours arrived, after lunch, when a powerful voice was heard outside the classroom. I am. The unmistakable muscular physique of the man with blonde hair and long V-shaped locks made itself known. The students commented on his red uniform with several concentric circles cut in certain sections, in addition to the blue cape. It was his Silver Age outfit. Entering through the main door, like a normal person. You all know my heroic name and you should know that we are in the Hero Basics class. We will begin with. He pulled 2 things from his back, showing only one. A card with the word, Battle, Combat Training, and for this you will need your. As he pressed the button on the remote control, a part of the wall became shelves with briefcases own battle suits. Check your seat numbers and then, meet me at the Gamma battlefield. His students answered with a, yes sir, and stampeded out, after grabbing their respective briefcases, making the hero laugh, who opened the window and flew out towards the Gamma battlefield, falling in front of the tunnel entrance. A few minutes later, he began to hear footsteps, feel it and believe it. You are heroes now. I really like your suits, young people. Izuku copied the data on the Omega Rangers regulation uniforms, which Draken obtained, although they were only photographs in reality. He donned light green visor-shaped glasses, a green torso jacket, white sleeves reflecting the fusion of the green Godzillazard and the white light tiger, a cape and dark gray pants reflecting Lord Draken's final form. Also the cape was made of certain materials to make it very durable. Izuku took a second to look at the others' outfits. With a quick glance, Mina wore a white mask, a tight turquoise and purple outfit, with a tan sleeveless vest with fur on the collar and plum and beige boots. Next came Eijiro, who wore a nose guard and spiked pieces around his mouth that resembled small fangs, giving him an Oni-like appearance. He then wore 2 dark red gear-shaped shoulder pads, a bare chest, and an uneven sash. Underneath, he wore baggy black pants and a half cape with a ripped hem. He also wore dark red sports boots. Sensei, excuse me, said Iida, who was wearing light gray armor. His inspiration was his older brother, Ingenium. All Might nodded. Will we have urban combat? I'm asking about the location. All Might quickly shook his head. The civilian votes, regarding the combat and rescue situations that heroes find ourselves in, are always held outdoors. But, if you look at the official combat statistics, you'll find that many are indoors. Gang deals, hostage situations, teamwork situations between 2 enemy clans, house arrest. In this society increasingly filled with heroes, the greatest criminals hide in the shadows. It was training, but it was also very common. You will be placed in pairs, given a letter of the alphabet, and then you will fight each other. All Might chose the pairs by giving them a letter, and when he was done with that, he grabbed 2 large rubber balls from boxes, a white ball with a cyan A on it and a black ball with a red D. Midoriya and Uraraka will be the heroes, while Iida and Bakugo will be the villains. He then pulled out a script, and everyone felt a touch of shame. The villains hid a bomb head somewhere in the apartment, and the heroes must find it. The heroes win by capturing the villains or touching the bomb. Iida and Bakugo decided, more Iida than Bakugo, to place the bomb on the top floor. The robotic knight Iida wanted them to protect the bomb together, but instead Bakugo went to find his rivals, leaving Iida with a half-baked plan. Izuku entered the building. He knew how competitive Bakugo was, so he already had a laser ready. He heard the explosions and Bakugo appeared before him. "I've got you, Deku bastard," he roared, launching his explosive attack head-on, sending Izuku back, protected by his cape. This caused Katsuki's eyes to open wide. How is it possible you're still intact after that explosion? The cape is made of fire-resistant Nomex material and Kevlar fabric to lessen the impact of bullets, Izuku explained with a smile, before unleashing a laser attack on Bakugo's chest and delivering an uppercut to the jaw, sending him to the ground, before starting to run. Uraraka floated into the room where Iida and the bomb were, and just as she was about to touch it, Iida was practicing a terrible villain speech, which made her laugh. Iida's eyes widened, and he ran, grabbing the papier-mâché bomb and moving it across the room. The young man pointed at his companion. "I'm not letting you defuse this bomb, heroine. I've gotten rid of all the things you could have attacked me with. You won't escape me." But Izuku flew towards the ceiling and Bakugo kept going, with Izuku descending diagonally, kicking Bakugo in the back. "Take this." Bakugo's explosion was very strong and thunderous, but it was pierced by Izuku's laser vision, which hit Bakugo and left him with some blisters as a souvenir. "He decreased the power range of my explosion, just with that damn laser of his," he thought angrily. When Bakugo released the ring from his bracelet, Izuku demonstrated his physical strength, sending him with a punch against the window, taking his arm out and causing a huge explosion. Surely Izuku also had probability control or something like that. "Heroes win," All Might said over the speakers, causing Bakugo to roar. Memory. Ochako had used her zero gravity to float to the indicated window on the top floor and moved along the window ledges, taking advantage of her kosei for short periods of time. When Iida went off to the corner to improvise a villain speech, Ochako took the opportunity to touch the bomb. End of memory. Then it was the turn of Team C, villains, versus Team G, heroes. Then it was the teams. "I hope you all learned something useful today," All Might said boisterously to his students. "Now, go to class." Everyone nodded, and when they walked away, the hero took on a very thin and skeletal form. "While looking at the golden heroic guardians Morpher, I will always be grateful that you chose me to lead the next generations of heroes." Everyone was amazed at the class they had just had, taught by the symbol of peace himself. They went to their classroom, saying how lucky they were to have the symbol of peace himself as their teacher. "You're finally going to die, All Might," said a smiling young man with blue-gray hair and red eyes, who was wearing a severed hand as a mask. "And then I will show you how pathetic this world is and how quickly I will bring chaos and despair to it, once you are no longer here." Behind him, a pair of alien servants of the Mineral Emperor, one of them with pyrite and marcasite armor, both were iron and sulfur minerals found in crystal form and are highly flammable, and the other with quartz armor. As they arrived at UA for a new day of classes, they ran into a legion of reporters blocking their way. "Oh, no," Ochako said, before looking at Mina, Izuku, and Kyoka. "How are we supposed to get through?" Everyone thought about it, unable to find an answer, and they had to be quick, as classes were almost starting. "Let's use teleportation," Izuku said. The Rangers nodded and disappeared in flashes of color before reappearing inside. They heard the reporters talking to other students. "What are classes like with All Might?" They sighed. "What kind of lessons does All Might teach?" "That only adds to my belief that I'm at the best institution in the country," Tenya said, entertaining them. "Your authority in the classroom and your demeanor are inspiring." The Rangers had drops behind their heads. "Sometimes you can't save them all." I was looking at All Might's notes and reviewing the recordings. Said Aizawa. Bakugo. You're not 7 years old, you could have hurt or even killed Midoriya, with your exhibition yesterday. Midoriya. Even if you can effectively defend yourself from the enemy's attack, it doesn't mean you have to receive it directly. The red-eyed blonde and the green-haired man with emerald eyes nodded. I think everyone did well. Today will be the opposite of yesterday's. They all looked at Aizawa curiously. If you check your class schedule between Monday and Tuesday, you will see that on Monday you have up to 4 regular classes, and then, in the afternoon, comes the heroism class. Today, we will start with the fundamentals of heroism class and we will do it until noon, when we will return here, so you can have lunch and then have classes. It has been decided that you will be supervised by 3 heroes, in your fundamentals of heroism class today. Everyone looked at him with interest. All Might, a professor you haven't met yet, and I. We'll be traveling by bus, since the training camp is a bit far away. You can choose to wear your suits or not, because you might find things in them that are bothersome when doing activities today. Eijiro raised his hand, as impatient and excited as the others. What are we doing today, Aizawa-sensei? Aizawa showed a card that had the word rescue, floods, earthquakes, fires, saving people in thunderstorms or snowstorms, saving people in the event of terrorism. He pulled out a very familiar control, and the suitcases containing the hero costumes unfurled. You can choose whether to wear your costumes or your PE uniforms. Maybe some of your outfits won't be suitable for the task after all. After changing, head to the buses. Dash dash dash, dash dash dash, dash dash dash. Already on the bus, everyone started talking, getting to know each other, telling their lives and their koseis and what brought them to you. While Aizawa tried more or less to ignore it, we're talking about heroism. It's only natural that you're so excited. Aizawa thought, willing to put up with it. We're arriving, get ready to get off. Everyone nodded and after a long stretch, they arrived at the place, where a hero wearing a Michelin suit and a large black helmet was waiting for them. This is Heroine 13, the second teacher of this day. Hey 13, where's All Might? Apparently he did a lot of hero duty and is exhausted. He said he would come at the end of class, whispered 13. Aizawa covered his face with his hand, unable to believe this. This is the height of irresponsibility. It's a pleasure to meet you all, now let's go inside. So they did. The young people marveled at the interior and all the things they could witness. Fake flood areas, fire areas, landslides, and much more. This is the disaster rescue training camp. My own playground, the USJ. And I want you to remember this. With Aizawa you learned what your koseis can do, and with All Might you learned what your koseis can do to other people. But always keep in mind that you don't have koseis to harm others, but to save lives. Let's split into pairs. Some of us will act as the supposedly injured, and others will be rescuers. Do you understand? Aizawa asked. Sir. Yes sir. 13 nodded. To begin, the lights exploded, the power supply began to fail, and a black and purple cloud appeared in the middle. Deku contacted Izuku, Eijiro and Mina. I detect many signatures entering the site through a terrestrial and biological portal. In other words, Deku, Mina asked. It's a kosei, not something technological. Izuku said. Deku, let Director Nezu know what's going on here. I'm on it. So, this isn't like the entrance exam that started right away, huh? Eijiro said. Gather in one place and don't move, Aizawa shouted. 13 protect the students. Many mutant villains appeared. At the end, a young adult with blue hair, wearing a long-sleeved black t-shirt with severed hands on his body. A muscular monster, with inky black skin, red scars, an exposed brain and a metal beak. 2 alien servants of the Mineral Emperor, one of them with pyrite and marcasite armor, both were iron and sulfur minerals found in crystal form and are highly flammable, and the other with quartz armor. And finally, a man shaped like a black cloud and dressed like a bartender. The one with the hands spoke. So All Might isn't here, huh? And I went to so much effort gathering so many people. Maybe he'll come back, when we kill some of his beloved students. Eijiro, Mina, we must transform. Izuku indicated. But Izuku, Mina began, they don't. The ones next to the muscle-bound monster with the inky skin are indeed ones, Mina-chan, Izuku assured. Mina and Eijiro glanced at each other before nodding. Ready. Ready. What are you guys doing? Suyu asked. Stop with the crap, you don't, Bakugo began. Ready. They both answered. Hero of Valor. Izuku got his green Draken Ranger costume, like a full-body green suit with white details here and there. The cape was also green, but the shoulder pads, unlike Tommy Oliver from the Coinless World, were white, instead of gold, representing the power of the white light. Chivalrous hero. Eijiro was enveloped in a red light and his red ranger suit appeared. Now he wore a kind of black armor over it, which seemed full of red cracks, and underneath that, a red suit. Altruistic heroine. Mina obtained her salmon-colored outfit, theoretically identical to the Ranger Slayers, but in a different color. Power Rangers Heroic Guardians. The three shouted before jumping over all the villains. Izuku even flew up and was the first to attack the two aliens. The three of us will take care of these, Aizawa-sensei, the villains, and the others, get out of here. Don't even think you're going to get all the fun, Deku, Bakugo roared, before descending with his explosions. Die. He released an extremely immense explosion. We're not playing, Bakugo, Mina shouted, surprising everyone, as she used her crossbow to attack the monster. This is not like training, this is not a controlled exercise, they are real villains. That's right, Eijiro said, attacking the other monster with his sword, fighting alongside Izuku. This one was more robust, even seemed muscular, unlike the one attacking Mina, who was thinner and more agile. Both men knew that their friend could handle him. Stop being an idiot and leave, while you still can. Izuku launched an upward slash with the dragon dagger and Eijiro repeated his action with the gentlemanly sword. Izuku concentrated green lightning into the dragon dagger and buried it in the monster's shoulder, electrocuting it. Mina used her crossbow to shoot lasers at the monster and used its acid, which seeped through the ranger boots without damaging her, allowing her to be very fast, almost like an ice dancer, and even being able to shoot other villains. Star crossbow, sidereal arrows. The Salmon Ranger used her crossbow to force the monster back, also causing it to take some arrows. Bringing together the dragon dagger, the gentlemanly sword, and the star crossbow, they launched a single pink, green, and red laser energy arrow, destroying both aliens in seconds. Heroic Guardians triumphant. Dash dash dash, dash dash dash, dash dash dash, but the three of them weren't the only ones doing their job. Momo created a large baffle and allowed Kyoka to attack her enemies, surrounding heart attack, electric guitar noise, leaving many villains on the ground, due to hearing loss. The giant speaker wasn't Momo's only creation. It was amazing what lipids and a grape diet did for the girl with a silver spoon in her mouth, so she made a pair of tonfas for fighting and also some gloves so Denki could redirect his body's electrical energy without fear of hurting anyone. The blonde boy didn't hesitate to use his gloves when he saw more villains appearing. But all of them were undoubtedly hurt by the sonic attack and there were far fewer of them than those who had fainted and couldn't continue attacking. Denki saw Mineta throw hair spheres at the villains, and when they stopped, not knowing what Mineta's Kosei was doing, he took the role of counterattack. Musabetsu Hoden 130-man Boruto. 1,300,000 volt discharge. The electricity was redirected by the hands, electrocuting the villains who approached them, and the hairballs acted as some kind of glue. The villains ended up sticking to each other, with something very similar to a purple slime, and fainting. I'm sick of villains and Deku no longer being a pebble in the road, you bastards, Bakugo roared, as he drew his hands back and then launched multiple explosions from his palms, to propel himself and fly above the villains. Sodai Nakachu Bakuhatsu. Magnificent aerial explosion. Bakugo launched two large explosions, from each of his hands, not caring how high he flew, while he watched as he left the villains lying on the ground. Shigaraki Tamura, said the man in black fog. That boy with blonde hair and explosions, don't you think he could be a good ally in the future? Excellent approach, Kurogiri. Shigaraki said, only for 3 allies to fall on him. Damn, Eraserhead. I completely forgot about you, Nomu. The monster went against Eraserhead, but half of its body froze, thanks to Todoroki Shoto, making Shigaraki smile. You need more than just that, to destroy Nomu, since he has super regeneration. Everyone watched in horror, as the Nomu was soon on his feet again. Todoroki grabbed his sensei and pulled him out of there, just as Izuku fired an extremely powerful laser from his hands. But Tamura only extended his right hand, showing a morpher, to which he pressed two buttons. Black Oblivion. Go! A black and gray ranger suit appeared over his body. You won't have it so easy defeating me, kid. Not to mention my Nomu. The doors exploded and All Might appeared. Everything's okay, because I'm here. All Might attacked the villains, defeating them very quickly and getting everyone out of danger at high speed. But Izuku approached again and stayed in the air, thanks to his power of flight, leaving All Might to face the monster. He would only act if Shigaraki Tamura this unexpected evil Black Oblivion Ranger attacked All Might. His instinct told him to look for his friends. He managed to locate them all, except one. He quickly searched and saw the white armor by the door. Iida managed to get out. He allowed himself to smile. He'll go ask the UA for help. Perfect. All Might went for the Nomu immediately. Carolina smash. He threw a karate chop. Having crossed his arms, he ducked as the monster almost grabbed him. All Might responded with a powerful right to the cheek. He has shock absorption and hyper-regeneration, Shigaraki Tamura said, watching the hand-to-hand combat between the Nomu and All Might begin. You can't kill him, All Might. All Might dodged two punches from the Nomu, before punching him in the chin. Washington smash. He overcame the Nomu's shock absorption and literally knocked him out of the USJ. That was over 300 hits and you too. It's time for you to go to prison. He launched himself at Kurogiri and the Oblivion Ranger, but both of them disappeared with a portal from Kurogiri. Teachers, police officers and doctors arrived, beginning to treat the students and take statements. The school would be closed for the day, to give the students a break, while Nezu's plans for the UA Sports Festival continued. Izuku, Mina and Eijiro went to the Astro Megaship, after everything that happened in USJ, at DECA's request. Izuku lived closest to Dagoba Beach, so it was easier for him to make the trip, while Eijiro and Mina teleported away. Upon arriving, they found themselves in the training room, with Deku teaching them what the UA Sports Festival was and how they planned to use it this year, in 3 days, to demonstrate UA's strength. Looking at each other, the three of them nodded at the decision to train in martial arts. Deku gave them each different holographic enemies, with varying degrees of difficulty. Not only did they train in martial arts, but Deku made it very clear that they should merge the use of combat arts with the use of their koseis and never stop at the most basic. The weekend passed, and they also had Monday off, but on that Monday afternoon, they were informed that they would have an online class, so all the students in Class 1A had to log in. On Tuesday morning, the day of the connection, Aizawa looked at his students with a smile. I know you may still be feeling adrenaline pumping because of the attack. But don't forget, you're at UA, so it's time to turn the page. Everyone gulped. The UA Sports Festival is coming up. In the past, the Olympics were what everyone watched. Now for Japan, the most beloved program is tuning into the UA Sports Festival. And since everyone has been talking about the incident at USJ, then all eyes are on you. Class 1A. I want you to give your best, since it's very likely that you will receive recommendations for fieldwork. Denki raised his hand in the chat, and Aizawa gave him the floor. Excuse me, Aizawa-sensei. What is fieldwork? You'll travel to different hero offices, see the pro heroes in action firsthand, Aizawa explained. To do so, you'll have to put on a great show at the sports festival. Seeing Mina's comment, Aizawa placed a hand to the bridge of his nose, already starting to feel a migraine. And no, Mina, you won't be able to wear your hero outfits. He ignored the crying emojis in the chat, courtesy of Mina. It should be fair for everyone. Although in the early years of the sports festival, they were allowed to wear them, they gave you unfair advantages. By the way, Midoriya, your application for extracurricular lessons at the support department has been approved. Why can Deku have extracurricular classes and others can't? Bakugo roared with his eyes white with anger, large teeth, fire coming out of his mouth and a sea of flames behind him. Midoriya sent the correct request form to the director. Aizawa explained, you start after from fieldwork. Understood, sensei. Izuku explained. A few days later, the students of Class 1A of the Department of Heroes were coming out of the tunnel, which took them from the locker room to the stadium, all dressed in their physical education suits. And here they are lined up, all the first-year students of the UA, 1A and 1B. Department of Heroes. 1C and 1D. Department of General Education. 1C, 1D and 1E. Support Department. 1F, 1G and 1H. Present Mike said super happy, and Midnight is in charge of explaining this year's tests to us. Exactly, said the dominatrix-dressed heroine, and the first test of this year will be obstacle course. Everyone get ready, we'll start as soon as those 3 green lights over there go off, she explained, while pointing in that direction. Ready. The first light bulb went off. Ready. Everyone got into position. When the second light bulb went off. Out. Izuku literally flew out, passing over the tunnel, inside which the students soon realized how narrow it was. Midoriya crosses over very cleverly, but let's see if he can stay that way, against Todoroki's ice release, Present Mike said. Sure enough, Izuku launched a laser from his hands, destroying the ice. Midoriya, Bakugo, and Todoroki head for the first obstacle, Robot Hell. Bakugo flew over it. Izuku launched his red laser from his chest, destroying 3 of the robots and continuing on his way. Mina threw her acid through her shoes, allowing her to skate and dodge with agile movements the robots' attempts to crush her. Momo created a cannon and with one shot, destroyed one of them, then activated his rocket skates again, crossing at great speed. Hanta used his bandages to strap himself onto the robot's arm and step over it. Tsuyu used her tongue to quickly cross over. Todoroki froze the robots and went on his way. He would show what his ice was capable of, not Endeavor's Kosei. He would be the greatest hero of all, just using his ice. Tsuyu stood out above the rest, crossing the rope course with great skill. And the students of Class 1A met a girl from Class 1H, from the support department, who used a harpoon belt and special, highly technological boots to cross. The ending was crossing a minefield, where Izuku flew and Katsuki followed him very closely with his explosions. And the winner of the obstacle course is Midoriya Izuku, Present Mike celebrated. After such a magnificent and wonderful cavalry race, which is impossible for me to describe in words, because it was so fantastic, mind-blowing, and took the breath away of everyone attending the sports festival, it was time for the most important and eagerly awaited phase. The reason why Yukio was in the front row, the reason why Death Arms, Kamui Woods and MT Lady were paying more attention to the screens than doing their job as members of security, alongside Ectoplasm and Hound Dog. Fights. Just as they were about to begin the fighting stage, 2 lights illuminated the place and a pair of aliens appeared. One with a bat head and a half-golden body that had several eyes and half-black that seemed to have mouths, carrying a large sword. The other was some kind of octopus-headed alien in a Confederate soldier uniform. Izuku, Mina, and Eijiro exchanged glances, and without a word, Izuku flew in front of the announcer's booth, where Present Mike and Aizawa were. Seeing his star student, Aizawa nodded firmly. Destroy them. Hero of Valor. Izuku got his green Draken Ranger costume, like a full-body green suit with white details here and there. The cape was also green, but the shoulder pads, unlike Tommy Oliver from the Coinless World, were white, instead of gold, representing the power of the white light. Chivalrous Hero. Eijiro was enveloped in a red light and his Red Ranger suit appeared. Now he wore a kind of black armor over it, which seemed full of red cracks, and underneath that, a red suit. Altruistic Heroine. Mina obtained her salmon-colored outfit, theoretically identical to the Ranger Slayers, but in a different color. Power Rangers Heroic Guardians. The 3 shouted before jumping over all the villains. Just as they were about to begin the fighting stage, 2 lights illuminated the place and a pair of aliens appeared. One with a bat head and a half-golden body that had several eyes and half-black that seemed to have mouths, carrying a large sword. The other was some kind of octopus-headed alien in a Confederate soldier uniform. Hero of Valor. Izuku got his green Draken Ranger costume, like a full-body green suit with white details here and there. The cape was also green, but the shoulder pads, unlike Tommy Oliver from the Coinless World, were white, instead of gold, representing the power of the white light. Chivalrous Hero. Eijiro was enveloped in a red light and his Red Ranger suit appeared. Now he wore a kind of black armor over it, which seemed full of red cracks, and underneath that, a red suit. Altruistic Heroine. Mina obtained her salmon-colored outfit, theoretically identical to the Ranger Slayers, but in a different color. Power Rangers Heroic Guardians, the three shouted before jumping over the two villains. Mina launched arrows from her bow, while the Confederate alien drew his rifle and began returning fire from the Pink Ranger. Eijiro didn't draw his sword, just lunged at his enemy, delivering two powerful kicks in quick succession. He stepped back to avoid the Confederate octopus alien's rifle fire. Izuku buried the dragon dagger into the ground, causing lightning to leap out from the ground, sending the bat-headed alien flying. Izuku jumped, a white light fell from the sky, and the young man held out his hand. Saba, Tigra's talking sword, appeared in his hand and gained its knowledge, attacking the alien by firing laser beams from the eyes of Tigra's sword, sending it flying backward. Thanks for coming, Saba. Izuku brought the dragon dagger to the mouth of his helmet and played the notes, sending lightning from the sky, which fell upon the bat alien. The Confederate octopus alien couldn't shoot the red heroic Guardian Ranger because he was too close to him, so he took all the hits while he struggled to get away so he could aim. Shooting Mina seemed like a good option, since she wouldn't be able to counterattack with his arrow launch due to her partner's position. But that wasn't a problem for Mina, thanks to the excellent aim the Pink Ranger suit gave her, always managing to wound the alien. Eijiro delivered a powerful punch to the alien's face, before stabbing it in the forehead, and as it moved away, Mina fired a barrage of arrows that made the alien explode. Izuku stabbed the alien several times with both weapons, causing it to explode. As the three friends reunited, thinking it was all over, a pillar of light fell and the bat-headed alien returned. Izuku summoned the Godzillazord with the trumpet and Saba summoned the Tigerzord. Tigerzord, Mega Mode. The tiger robot transformed into its anthropomorphic form. White Tiger, Dragon Zord, the Godzillazord and the Tigerzord merged into one. After a long battle between the White Tiger, Dragon Megazord and the Bat Alien, the robot managed to emerge victorious, while the alien was irremediably destroyed. Dash 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 dash. Dash 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 dash. So, you have a Megazord, huh? Growled the Mineral Emperor. My followers may not have Megazords, but they're going to have. He put a hand into his chest, which shone with a red light, and when he took it out, he held 10 rubies, something that will give them a third round and your destruction. Green Heroic Guardian Ranger. Present Mike was silent for a moment as the Megazord flew away, leaving only the remnants of the battle. All injured people must go to Recovery Girl and Angel Heal. He quickly shouted. But the audience responded. We're all fine, let's start the final stage. No one was hurt, shouted a hero from the audience. Let's continue with the first-year fights. He should be amazing, but I can't get this air of mediocrity out of my head. Present Mike shouted from the hero department, Zero Honda. Also from the hero department, Todoroki Shoto. Zero cracked his neck. I don't feel like I can win, but I don't want to lose either. He threw his ribbon at Shoto, tying him up and dragging him along quickly. A great start. With a lightning-fast attack, Shoto is being propelled towards the edge of the battlefield. In a second, a huge iceberg formed, almost destroying the commentator's place. That's, Todoroki Shoto quickly counterattacked in. Midnight, this is Eraser Head. What's the situation? Zero Honda can't move, she declared, while Shoto unfroze him. The win of the first fight goes to Todoroki Shoto. A few minutes later, in the next fight, Shiozaki Ibara swiftly defeated Kaminari Denki by knocking him out of the field of combat and spectacularly protecting himself from his lightning bolts, thanks to his hair vines. Hatsume Mei won, but not because of her mastery. Actually, Iida Tenya's speed wasn't an obstacle, but by his own will. When Mei tricked him into using 2 of her support items, a backpack and some mechanical items on her legs for acceleration and leg protection. As he passed her, she deployed some poles that tripped him up, or so it was assumed, since the backpack threw him back onto the battlefield, while she jumped with her own boots. After humiliating him for a while, she caught him in a net and was about to blow him off the battlefield with a very powerful leaf blower. Even so, she came out and said she did what she wanted to do. The fight between Mina and the girl seemed to be won from the very beginning. She dodged her opponent's shots, used her acid to skate toward him, melt his belt, and hit him. Yaoyorozu summoned a shield, and at the speed of Dark Shadow, who managed to disarm her, she soon summoned another shield and was pushed out of bounds. Dash dash dash, dash dash. When the fight between Bakugo and Uraraka arrived, everyone believed that it was going to be an easy and quick victory for the explosive boy, who launched a huge explosion and a huge cloud of smoke appeared. But Uraraka floated above the battlefield and headed towards Bakugo. Seeing him raise his right arm, she seemed to grasp the air and pull it, moving to the left, then fell on Bakugo, crushing him, before he pushed her away from him with an explosion. "Huh, what's wrong with you, angel face?" Bakugo growled angrily, seeing that she only took a few steps away from him and not how he thought it would be. "You should have been sent to fly very far away." "I underwent some sort of Kosei evolution, Bakugo-kun," she explained, everyone paying attention. "With my right hand I can make anything I touch lose its gravity, but with my left hand I can make things very heavy." Bakugo launched several explosions, but Uraraka dodged them all with enormous speed. Bakugo thought he could dodge her if he flew up, but she touched his shoe with her left hand and the blonde fell heavily to the ground, creating a crater beneath him, before being touched by her right hand, being lifted like a rag doll and sent flying at great speed. Same speed that she imitated, before managing to touch him again with her left hand and making him fall out of the ring unable to move. Dash dash dash, dash. Izuku was against a boy from 1B named Saburaba Kosei, and the brown-haired teenager from Class 1B demonstrated great use of his quirk, which allowed him to create objects from the air. He exhaled and demonstrated it by throwing several arrows and spears at Izuku. At this, the green-haired man flew away, before approaching at great speed. Kosei believed that a solid air shield would be enough, but instead, it allowed Izuku to push him away from the battlefield, defeating him with apparent ease, as Izuku had many cuts on his skin, the result of the arrows or blades that Kosei created at the last minute. So it was quite surprising that Midoriya was the winner and the one who knocked out Saburaba, who seemed ready to beat him. Dash dash dash, dash dash, dash. Since Friday was the day of the sports festival, the UA students had a 2-day break to let their adrenaline cool and give the teachers time to count all the student nominations. Especially the first years. Good morning, everyone. It was a big surprise to us that so many of you received nominations for the field work with pro heroes. This year, it's more like interest shown by the pro heroes. He pulled a remote control from his robes and pressed the button. Almost everyone's name appeared with different numbers showing how many pro heroes were interested in them. Nominations will make more sense in your second or third year, when you gain experience and your fighting or rescuing skills are refined and judged, and they're more of a look into your potential future. Still, even those who don't see their names here, he took a sheet of paper and presented it to his students, will choose one of the 50 hero offices, which are listed. Still, you already have work experience, since we were attacked in the USJ, but now you're going to witness it firsthand and see how the professionals do it. It's time you got your hero names. We'll do some hero school. They all shouted. The door opened and the always sexy Midnight walked through. These are the names the audience will learn, memorize, and get excited about. The woman was carrying a small suitcase, and everyone was afraid she was going to start pulling out BDSM items. But instead, it was small whiteboards and markers, handing out 5 each to her students. Aizawa has no patience, so I'll take care of this. The names you choose should be goals for all of you. The image you project to others, Aizawa explained. Take the phrase, names and nature agree, and project into the future what you seek from yourselves and the kind of heroes you want to be. Ochako went for something easy to pronounce, remember, and totally natural, Uravity. Eijiro paid tribute to a retired hero he admired. Red Riot, the name of his role model was Crimson Riot. Mina wanted to show her love for the alien, the 8th passenger, Saga, but Midnight didn't like it and ended up taking the name of Pinky. Izuku went for Quasara, something that resulted from the random combination of letters. He liked it, as it seemed more like something taken from the Tojo. Thinking about it coldly, he saw that the basis of Tommy Oliver's power was the green Dragonzord coin, which was physically identical to Godzilla. He decided to do so when he realized that using Draken would be like having a sign saying, "I am one of the heroic rangers," as his morpher activation phrase was, Lord Draken's legacy. Your fieldwork assignments will be in a week, Aizawa explained. They're all excellent places to work. The heroes' fields of work and experience are very varied. Think carefully about what you're going to choose and what you want. For example, 13 is a disaster rescue hero, while All Might or Mirko are combat heroes. Decide between now and the weekend. We only have 2 days, they all shouted. I'll go with Ms. Joke, Mineta said. Mineta-chan, you're thinking perverted thoughts again, aren't you? Suyu said, passing him by. Of course not, I'll go with Gunhead, Ochako said with a smile, before showing her own paper. I've been nominated. I'll go with Mirko. Another option would be Yukio. Both of them nominated me, Izuku said, smiling. Students discussed the heroes they were nominated for or the professional hero office options they had. Their task was not only to choose where to go, but also to look toward their future and everything they could achieve during these 3 years at the academy. A boy and his mother were walking peacefully through the streets of Musudafuru. A large shadow covered the sun for just an instant, causing many to look up. One boy's eyes widened, while a bright smile appeared on his face as he pointed. Mommy, Mommy, a dragon. A dragon. A smile appeared on the mother's lips, and she stroked her cute son's hair. The boy's mother looked up at the sky. I hope this turns out to be a good day for you, Miss Ryukyu. The woman wished the metamorphosis heroine, who was flying several meters above her head. Tatsuma Ryuko aka Ryukyuhei flew peacefully, while listening to the lively story of his protege. Hado Najire aka Spiral Wave. Both women looked at the teenager flying a few meters away from them. With tousled green hair, his eyes protected by green visor-shaped glasses, dressed in a green torso jacket with white sleeves, a cape, and dark gray pants. His alias was Quasara. Spiral Wave jumped. After so much time in her internships, she knew how to recognize certain muscle patterns of her mentor, when she was going to resume her human form. Once again, Ryukyu allowed Izuku to see her dazzling and beautiful human form. Both women rolled when landing on the terrace of that building, to cancel the blow, while Quasara simply landed next to both heroines. Ryukyu ordered them to be silent and spoke to them with hand signals. It was the first thing Izuku learned at the Ryukyu agency. This is the Fighting Cock Gang, which is known to be behind more than 40% of all heroin manufacturing and distribution sold in Tokyo. They destroyed the skylight on the roof, and before they had completely fallen, Quasara was already firing his red laser from his chest, sending the criminals flying. A smile appeared on Spiral Wave's face, as she floated with her rings made of life energy, expelling them from her feet, while throwing rings from her hands, causing explosions. The villains finally sprang into action, attacking with fire, lightning, shaping the air, creating poison clouds, transforming the ground or the metal of the walls to attack the 3 heroes present. A tail whip from Ryukyu proved useful, sending several criminals flying and knocking them out. His roar caused several others to pee their pants, become terrified, and sit on the ground. Quasara landed, and with a punch of his super strength, he sent almost everyone flying and soon made sure that the majority of them were unconscious. He took a chain with thick, large links, beginning to tie up as many criminals as he could, whether they were conscious or unconscious, and Ryukyu considered that Izuku was doing a magnificent job. Iida Tenya believed this was going to be the most educational experience of his life. He would be able to spend time with his older brother, Iida Tensai aka Ingenium, his role model. Everything started well, as they patrolled, fought criminals, cleared civilians from the area, and then began combat. Perhaps it was the group's experience. Perhaps they underestimated their enemy, after more than 6 hours of hunting criminals, and relied on their own numbers. Maybe they should have rested. They arrested quite a few criminals in just one day, and his brother talked about how important rest was. They trusted each other. Or maybe Ingenium just wanted to live up to his beloved younger brother's expectations, showing himself to be the great professional hero, responsible and a leader to so many. So they went after one more. Just one more. One that was in an alley, which already had that metallic smell of blood and the nauseating smell of corpses, was slowly filtering through. The supervillain saw them before they saw him. He descended from the top, burying his katanas in the walls of both alleyways to control his descent, before leaping to avoid Aegis, who launched himself at him and used the golden armored hero's back to ascend and then descend, slicing panoply vertically. Igenium charged at him, grabbing him at top speed, but that was barely a bother to Stain, who seemed to have some sort of ridiculously tiny hidden bow up his sleeve. Iida saw him reach out, and a second later, the Titanforge was dead, some sort of arrow or blade sticking out of one of his eyes. Immediately after, Stain was slammed into a wall, yet he displayed great strength by pushing Ingenium away. He pulled a blade from his belt and seemed to have planned everything, as when he launched the slash, it actually caught an opening in Aegis's armor. The hero killer didn't mind, though, as he slit Ingenium's throat. He licked Ingenium and Aegis's blood, paralyzing them both before decapitating them and abandoning Gear, who fell to his knees from Stain's immense killing drive. My mission is to purge this country of false heroes. Eliminate all those who only seek fame and glory. The only one who can kill me is the only honorable one, the symbol of peace, All Might. Gear hugged his brother's corpse, tears streaming down his face. I'm going to avenge you, brother, I swear. He yelled as he felt himself hit from behind. As he turned around, he saw a silhouette nearby, but it wasn't a person, but rather some kind of animal. A word came to his mind, and he stretched out his arm in the darkness as he opened his eyes and, determinedly, repeated the words mentally. The image before him became increasingly clear. Darkness swirled around his wrist, and a black morpher appeared. Archaic breath. Glyptodon. Aliento archaico. Glyptodon. The morpher activated and a mustard-colored ranger suit appeared. The archaic breath ranger, coming out behind the hero killer. Stain, took a while to find him. His speed increased thanks to the ranger suit, and with the Glyptodon's mace, he smashed Stain's head in, before anyone could notice that someone was there. Izuku, Mina, Eijiro, All Might, Mount Lady, Ryukyu and Mirko appeared on the Astro megaship. What's up, Deku? Mina asked immediately. As everyone knows, Rangers aren't always pure of heart or courageous enough to be chosen. Everyone, without exception, raised an eyebrow without understanding anything. Several times they will be victims of mind control, thus being able to access the dark side of the Morphin network. Now they understood. The mysterious ranger has accessed the Yellow Spectre and killed Akaguro Chizome, also known as the Hero Killer. Izuku whispered palely. Stain, All Might, Ryukyu, Mirko, and Mount Lady said with gravity and some darkness in their voices. With the warning, everyone was sent to their respective rooms, wherever that might be. But everyone, including Midoriya Inko, went to the Deku coordinates, finding nothing there that would be useful in determining Akaguro Chizome's killer, and that made them quite angry. As they were about to leave, a large number of prisoners of the lowest rank emerged from inside a portal. Closely followed by an alien with an imposing, muscular body covered in dark, rough scales that seemed to absorb light. His claws were long and sharp, similar to knives, protruding from his hands and feet. His eyes were glowing red, with vertical pupils that seemed to burn with intensity. His head was large and angular, with long, sharp horns protruding from his forehead. His skin was scaly, with spines rising from his back and shoulders. His teeth were pointed and sharp, ready to rend. In addition to all that, his stature was imposing, with muscular arms and legs that seemed capable of crushing his victims. His body was covered in scars and marks from previous battles, suggesting a long history of struggle and survival. He wore an orange jacket with the letter A. No time to look for the culprit, huh? All Might said, taking a step forward. Nebraska smash. While throwing a punch, All Might spun his arm to generate a small but powerful tornado from his fist, capable of attracting and hitting multiple enemies. Tail slam. Powerful mace. Ryukyu spun around quickly, her dragon tail coming out from her tailbone, giving a powerful lash to her nearby enemies. Missouri smash. All Might advanced towards the alien quickly, charisma hero, as he transformed, and now that blow he dealt to his target's head with the edge of his hand was 10 times more powerful than before. Brave hero. Draken legacy. Izuku was enveloped in a green light, which when it disappeared, he now wore a green lycra suit with white details on the shoulders and forearms, black gloves, a black cape and a green helmet. Gentle hero. Red Ranger. Draken legacy. Eijiro was clad in black armor on top, which seemed full of red cracks, a red helmet, and he used a gigantic hammer. Guardian of the Empire. Red Dog. Guardian of the Empire. Alma de Roca. Guardian Rojo. Eijiro exclaimed, appearing at that moment in front of an enemy, and with a punch, he sent him against the dark-scaled alien, who pushed him away with a careless punch and went against Eijiro, who began to exchange punches against the Red Ranger. Altruistic Heroine. Salmon Ranger. Draken Legacy. Mina obtained her salmon-colored suit, which was theoretically identical to that of the Ranger Slayer, and began shooting arrows at the enemies, who were surrounding her companions, while trying to get a better view of everything. The alien let out a roar that stunned them all and launched a powerful kick at All Might, who grabbed his leg, spun him around, and threw him into the air. Mount Lady grew gigantic, and when she was sure she had the monster underneath her, she simply lowered her leg. Stomp of the most beautiful heroine. The monster remained under the sole of his foot, but something flashed right there, scaring Yu, who jumped back and prepared to attack. The alien returned, now releasing a strange red energy from a ruby in its chest. It roared and lunged at her, but the blonde heroine returned to her normal size and the alien rolled over her. Mirko jumped to a building across the street, and from there, he jumped towards the alien, to return it to his battlefield. Lunar Ring. Mirko lifted one of his legs and launched a powerful frontal axe kick at the alien, who fell to the ground, leaving a large crater. Izuku. You confuse the dagger with Mina's bow and Eijiro's mace, said Deku. Izuku took Mina's bow and placed Eijiro's mace on top of it like the barrel of a rifle or a shotgun, on top of the sword, and on top of the sword he placed the dragon dagger. Heroic Blaster. The three friends said, firing the weapon, with a sphere of golden energy with green lightning and destroying the monster. Power Rangers Heroic Guardians. The teenagers cheered, seeing themselves triumphant. In a bar on Kamino, Emperor Or found himself standing before a villain. If it were known that he was still alive, after so many years since his fight with All Might, he would be feared immensely. But no one knew of his survival. You have something very curious right there, don't you, Emperor Or? A man wearing a business suit asked interestedly. The alien nodded, crossing his arms to wait for the man's answer. Both had just watched the Rangers fight against the alien. Yes. I think we have a deal after all. Or and this villain, named All for one, All Might's sworn enemy and the person who seriously injured him, shook the Emperor's hand, who disappeared. Izuku, Mina, Eijiro, All Might, Mount Lady, Ryukyu and Mirko appeared on the Astro Megaship. So this is what fights against these monsters are like, huh? Said Ryukyu. Mirko shrugged. It's nothing we haven't done before, Ryu, the rabbit assured her. Maybe, but they're not exactly easy to hurt, Ryukyu said, frowning. Ryukyu Senpai is right, Mirko Senpai. Mount Lady said, nodding. Among the professional heroines, who helped train Izuku aka Green Draken Ranger aka Quasara, she was the youngest, older sister. Because none of you three are connected to the Morphic network, like All Might and I. Mina's words brought reason to the situation and clarified the situation. Deku began to speak. Everyone carries a tiny spark of the Morphic web, and that is what has allowed human evolution in this universe. To allow the appearance of the quirks, everyone paid attention. But it is also true that a concentration of this energy is needed, that is large enough to transform into Rangers and hit hard the aliens that are invading the Earth, like All Might, who acquired an armor of the Morphic web, instead of being a golden charisma ranger. Ryukyu sighed angrily. That means we're useless right now. There are varying degrees of concentration of the Morphic web in the enemies, so I could point out those enemies that they can attack without fear of being a hindrance to the Rangers and All Might. He proposed. Deku and the three heroines nodded, accepting this. On another note, an energy flow has been detected from the dark side of the Morphic grid. Dark side of the Morphic web? They all asked, finding the situation terrifying. A common tactic seen throughout Power Rangers history is the creation of a team of evil Power Rangers. Some are doppelgangers or clones, and others are good Rangers turned evil. Explained Deku, showing images of Tommy Oliver as the Green Mighty Morphin Ranger attacking other Rangers, showing the Psycho Rangers, the Titanium Lightspeed Rescue Ranger. Then it showed images of the other dimension where the SPD existed and were betrayed by the A Squad. It also showed the Dino-charged Silver Ranger, Doomwing, as well as the avatars of Blaze and Roxy, in addition to their robotic forms. The evil Ranger has a connection to the dark yellow, mustard yellow spectrum of the dark Morphic web, but he's disappeared and I can't find him. We'll have to wait for him to show up again, Ochako growled angrily. That's how it is, said Deku. There are 2 days left until the fieldwork ends. I propose you come with me, so you can practice your rescue skills, said All Might, cheering the 3 UA students, who followed him. The next 2 days, they caught pickpockets, cleaned up places, and rescued people, but none of the three could stop thinking about the evil ranger and what he might be doing. Dash 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 dash. Dash 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 dash. But fieldwork ended, and they had to return to their classes. They had an exciting rescue race, where they demonstrated what they'd learned that week. But with Aizawa, there were no strong emotions. Let's see here. Yes, summer vacation is approaching. Summer break. Everyone celebrated. Of course, being heroes, it stands to reason they don't have time to relax, Aizawa said. Could it be? Ochako said in terror. If you pass the midterm exam, you'll be coming to camp. 2 months to strengthen your koseis and much more, what a joy and all, Aizawa said. Izuku met up with Mina and Eijiro a while later, on the rooftop of the academy, during lunch. First the mysterious evil ranger, and then the midterm exam. He continued chewing his food rather roughly. Who knows what we'll have to do? We're students at UA, Midoriya, said Mina smiling and optimistic. We will overcome whatever comes our way and go to summer camp. The most important thing is to convince Yao Momo to help us study so we can pass the practical part of the exam, Eijiro said. Izuku looked at him for a few seconds before nodding. According to the parameters with which Deku was built, it never stopped searching for technology in this dimension, to create new ranger teams, and one of the newly armed morphers ended up in the hands of Subaru Hosuke, also known as the professional hero, and professor at UA. Snipe the man took up the mantle of the Blue Outlaw Ranger after realizing that there were not enough heroic Guardian Rangers to combat the threat that was coming upon them. Dash 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 dash. Dash 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 dash. Dash 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 dash. Dash 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 dash. That same night, Jiro Kyoka was notified that her love for Midoriya Izuku made her worthy of being his right-hand woman, as the Magenta Slayer Ranger. The morphic grid fused the pink of the original Ranger Slayer with the violet, resulting in this Ranger. Through the morphic net, Jiro Kyoka and Midoriya Izuku had an extensive vision dream, in which they observed the emergence of Lord Draken. Tommy Oliver just had to decide, of his own free will, to be evil. Then, the scales tipped toward evil, and Rita was able to conquer all, thanks to the green Mighty Morphin Ranger. She eventually cornered the Rangers in the command center and forced Zordon to send Jason Lee Scott to seek out the White Light, in an attempt to transform him into the White Light Ranger, thus giving the Rangers an advantage in their war against the advance of Rita Repulsa and the Green Ranger. Tommy invading the command center, fighting Jason, causing an explosion, taking several of the power coins, as well as having managed to fuse the coins of the Green Godzillazard and the White Light Ranger. Tommy betraying Rita and using the dark magic he learned from Rita, to create the Black Mastodon Sentinel Rangers, Yellow Sabertooth Tigers, and Red Tyrannosaurus Rexes, creating a nearly invincible army. Much later, Kimberly Hart attacked Tommy, fighting him and being defeated, standing before him, while he brainwashed her, infected her power coin and turned her into his Ranger Slayer, one of the greatest commanders in his army. He saw how Kimberly was sent to another time and how her dark bow was destroyed and she, freed from Draken's control, willing to do anything to save her dimension alongside some young Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and put an end to Lord Draken's tyranny. When Jiro Kyoka awoke, he found the 6 Ranger emissaries standing before him. Red, blue, yellow, pink, black, and green. They each handed him their own morpher and modified power coin. A message came to his mind. Although none of your fellow Rangers will abandon you, your romantic connection to the heir to Lord Draken's power, the leader of your team, the Green Heroic Guardian, Quasara, Midoriya Izuku is great. Dash dash, dash dash. From the next morning, Kyoka joined Izuku, Eijiro and Mina in their insane and demanding training to pass the mid-year exam and be able to attend the summer training camp. For the next few weeks, Kyoka traveled via teleportation with her fellow Rangers to the Astro Megaship, locking them all together in the training chamber. Kyoka had naively believed that they were going to use the training chamber to train their koseis in preparation for the UA practical exam, but she was wrong, and when Zordon's rules were explained to her, she understood better. They did physical training in a special chamber where time passed faster, and they stayed there, improving their endurance, strength, speed, and agility, for several hours, until it was time to eat. Deku guided her to an unused room on the second level of the Astro Megaship, where Kyoka could train her kosei. Deku also gave her holograms of breathing techniques, which she could use to accelerate her heartbeat. Dash dash, dash dash. After 2 weeks counted of ranger training and some new confrontations against other aliens sent by the Mineral Emperor, Izuku and Kyoka returned to UA, after going to a restaurant on the beaches of Kashiku, each of them drinking their own smoothie. So, a tyrannical supervillain regretted his actions and created 5 artifacts to transform 5 Mukosei into heroes? Kyoka asked, just to corroborate the whole story the green-haired man had just told her. And sent it through dimensions, Izuku explained. The creators of the morphic grid, or at least those who know how to manipulate it, the morphic masters, diverted the course of the Astro Megaship and brought it to our dimension. Knowing that dangerous aliens existed, they also learned of the Mineral Emperor and that they would not be enough to stop him, so they allowed the arrival of Lord Draken's Astro Megaship and his heroic guardians morphers, so that we would have the opportunity to confront them. Izuku nodded. Besides all of this, there were already aliens who had heard about the Super Delta Patrol, so they founded the Alpha Space Patrol, and since then, they fight all the alien criminals they can find. But one of their prisons was taken over by the Mineral Emperor and he is sending his aliens to Earth, in addition to the existence of 2 evil rangers, one of them being Shigaraki Tamura. The other one is unknown. Kyoka walked more slowly now, reviewing the information she had. That is to say, we don't know who is hiding under the helmet and we only know that it is the Archaic Breath Ranger. Kyoka stopped walking and grabbed her partner's shoulders, whom she had feelings for since the first time she saw him. Perhaps the morpher was exactly what Earphone Jack needed to have the courage to tell Quasara that he liked him. We can handle all of this, Izuku. But we have to take it one step at a time. Currently, we are focusing on getting stronger for the exam and making it to summer training camp. As everyone already understands, we're going to a summer training camp. Aizawa repeated. You better study all the theoretical part, since you'll have a written exam that will last from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, you will have a break for lunch. More than one, their heart stopped. How long would the exam be? That they were going to have 4 hours to complete it. From 1 o'clock to 3 p.m. will be the practical exam. Those who can pass the exam will go to camp and those who fail will be in for a hellish recovery time, I guarantee you. That's all. After lunch, Mina arrived almost in a hurry. Kaminari, the practical exam will be against robots. Yes, the electric blonde shouted happily. Since their koseis are difficult to adjust to fight humans, it's only natural that they feel so confident and happy, said one of Shoji's hands mouths. Momo helped Honta, Kaminari, Mina, Masharao, and Kyoka review for the written exam. The others did it on their own. The written exam was not difficult for the young first-year heroes. But the written exam didn't matter. But the practical one. Dash dash dash, dash dash, just when they thought it was going to be just a robot fight, entrance exam style. The teachers said they would form pairs to fight them. The principal began to name the pairs. Yaoyorozu and Bakugo would face Eraser Head, Asui and Tokiyami would face Ectoplasm, and finally, Izuku and Kyoka would face All Might. Nobody cared about Bakugo's loud complaints when he said that he should face the number 1 hero and destroy him. When it was Yaoyorozu and Bakugo's turn to face Aizawa, the man terrified his student so much that she left the blonde alone to fight Aizawa, who eliminated his student's kosei, destroyed his gloves by tying them with his bandages and pulling them off, and then used him as a punching bag, leaving him on the ground spitting blood. Dash dash dash, dash dash. Izuku and Kyoka barely had time to enter the place. Both were terrified. At this, the violet-haired girl buried her headphone jacks in the ground. He's walking this way. No wait, he just stopped and now he's ranged attack. Izuku ran towards her, was about to grab her, when an air cannon hit them both. Bricks, glass, lampposts and much more went flying. They both flew backwards. Izuku unzipped his shirt and his chest turned red, as he fired a beautiful crimson-red laser beam. Lord Draken's Heroic Delirium. Lord Draken's Heroic Delirium. Izuku and Kyoka watched their teacher jump. How did he have time to dodge that? Kyoka wondered. Wait, no. This is perfect. It took her longer to connect her jack lobes to her elbows than it took All Might to stand in front of her and bury a punch in her abdomen, making her open her eyes and spit saliva, before flying backwards. Izuku concentrated, letting his super strength flow through his entire body, launching himself at All Might and putting him in a neck lock. Kyoka stood up and was just as she was beginning to channel her heartbeat through her earlobes and then redirect it to All Might, when she received a Midoriya Shonen Smash. Izuku was used like a sledgehammer, leaving Kyoka and Izuku himself on the ground, in a crater. Izuku stood up, and Kyoka followed. The green-haired man had a new idea, a new special move, so he charged forward, his fists engulfed in red laser light. Redness. Black Dragon Laser Impact. All Might dodged every attack from his student, but Izuku wasn't that far behind either, being able to dodge his master's attacks. Izuku ran to Kyoka, picked her up in his arms, and flew off with his powers, just as All Might hit the ground, creating a crater and several buildings collapsing. This isn't working in our favor, Kyo-chan. Maybe this will do it. Kyoka never disconnected her connectors from her elbows. She brought her arms together in front of her, towards All Might, who closed his fist again and prepared to attack them. Heartbeat fuzz. Channeling sonic waves into the amplifiers on her forearms, the punk girl unleashed 3 extremely powerful sonic waves, which even broke the ground and sent All Might tumbling back, as well as raising a smokescreen. Izuku took Kyoka, who screamed at the dizzying and unexpected speed, as they crossed the finish line, passing the exam. Upon discovering that Midoriya Izuku lacked one for all, the supervillain known as All for One lost interest in him and began using a Kosei in his possession, Spy Eyes. In order to spy on the students of UA and try to find out who could be the 9th user of his younger brother's Kosei, already dead for so many years. If All Might teaches at UA, then it means that the 9th user of your Kosei is there, Yoichi. All for One completely ignored Class 1A. According to his own analysis, only Midoriya Izuku was a possible 9th bearer, but he already knew he wasn't. So he didn't have to listen. Oh my god. Guys, Mina whimpered, I'll be waiting for your stories about camp. Don't get discouraged, Izuku urged them. You know what Aizawa-sensei is like. We're bound to get a last-minute twist. Those who fail the exam don't deserve to go, Eijiro said, poking him in the eye with his finger. The door opened and everyone went to sit down. Aizawa walked up to the podium. Even if some of you failed the practical exam, no one failed the theory exam, so everyone is on schedule for summer training. The students shouted excitedly. However, in view of the failure of Kirishima, Ashido, Sato, and Kaminari, the 4 of them got nervous. You will be in theory recovery hell and will have fewer hours of physical training compared to the others. He left a sheet in front of Izuku, the class president, and another in front of Momo, the vice president. Here are the things you should keep in mind for the training camp. Everyone except Katsuki decided to go to the new Kiyoshi Ward shopping center, the biggest mall for teenagers and the one everyone was talking about. They wanted to buy things like new shoes, swimsuits, insect repellent, flashlights. In Mineta's case, drills to spy on the girls, and they were already planning things to make these 2 months impossible for the boy with hairballs. In a parallel timeline, Shigaraki Tamura would have threatened Izuku, just to understand why everyone was talking about the hero killer and not him. Dash dash dash, dash dash, 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 dash dash, dash dash dash. A few days later, Aizawa had a severe headache from all the conversations his students had been having until they reached the meeting point, the city now far behind them. A journey of almost 5 full hours to their destination, a lookout point, where 2 heroines were waiting for them. We've arrived. Meet Mandalay and Pixie Bob from Team Wild Wild Pussycat, Izuku interrupted, his eyes shining. Along with Ragdoll and Tiger, they're the most effective mountain rescue team. Exactly, said a woman with short, auburn hair and wearing a red and white band outfit. They're in training to strengthen their bodies, minds, and koseis. Pixie Bob, a blonde woman wearing a blue and white band outfit, pointed into the distance. You'll be staying at the base of this mountain. Ochako's eyes widened as she realized something important. So why are we here? Rikido became nervous. You don't think so. Pixie Bob blocked their path and hit the ground. Any kittens who don't make it by noon won't get anything to eat. The earth shook, and they all flew away, thanks to a wave of earth. Izuku, Eijiro, Mina, and Kyoka landed safely on their feet, while all their companions fell on their heads or backs. They began to walk through the forest, until many earth and wood monsters came out to meet them. Izuku attacked first with his lasers, quickly destroying them. Kyoko with her sound waves, destabilized the monsters. Eijiro, with his great physical strength, along with Rikido, opened the way for everyone. Todoroki froze the monsters' legs and then created ice spikes, to keep them immobile. Ochako made them float and then moved them so they fell on others. Bakugo flew, everyone ran away, and when the ground monsters gathered, the scarlet-eyed blonde exploded them. About 15 monsters, at least. Dash dash dash, dash dash, 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 dash dash, dash dash dash. From afar, Aizawa watched his students through binoculars as they battled the ground monsters Pixie Bob had created. He listened to Mandalay. This is very different from what we were planning, Eraserhead. It must be something very big and dangerous. Aizawa said nothing, just growled softly. The morning started too early for the students of classes 1A and 1B. They weren't really awake yet when they started training, and the first thing they did was something that only class 1A seemed to be used to or aware of. Bakugo decisively grabbed the softball, while Saburaba Kosei looked strangely at the ball in his hands. Vlad King spoke to his brown-haired student and everyone else. Use your Kosei to throw this ball as far as you can. The entire class 1B nodded. Saburaba blew, creating a baseball bat out of solid air, tossed the ball into the air, changed his mind at the last second, reshaped the bat into a tennis racket, swung it diagonally, and sent the ball flying. Die! Bakugo roared, throwing the ball with an explosion. As Bakugo and Saburaba are demonstrating, their growth so far has been mostly mental and emotional. Aizawa explained it's time to take their Koseis to the next level. At times, they might want to die. All the students took a step back, scared, at Aizawa's smile. Just make sure you don't. Let's begin then. The summer training camp. Bakugo held his hands under hot water. Tokiyami was fighting for control against Dark Shadow. Momo ate sweets and made Matryoshka dolls. Ochako was spinning in a gravity dome. Izuku was throwing lasers into the distance. Saburaba shot air arrows. Kendo enlarged all parts of his body as much as possible. Setsuna was forced to send her body fragments as far away as she could, before they were pulled by an unconscious command unknown to her and crashed into her body, all at the same time like a truck. Rin kept throwing scales. Tetsu remained in his metal form, while enduring, or tanking, the worst onomatopoeia that manga had to offer. The training began like hell, but the students were unaware of what was coming for them and had no way of finding out. They had no idea what was coming for them, and they had better be prepared to face this evil. It was time for the test of courage in the forest. First, they went into the forest in pairs, where Class 1B had to scare their classmates from Class 1A. That was how it should have been. But half the forest was soon ignited in blue flames, and the other half was covered in a violet gas. Soon, the careers present knew something was wrong. The situation escalated at great speed, when a couple of villains came out from inside the forest, and one of them, who was holding a huge block of cement, went to hit Pixie Bob with it. But a red flash was seen and the same villain followed his instinct, which screamed at him how dangerous that was, and when he dodged it, he released his blunt weapon, which was reduced to smoke by Midoriya Izuku's laser. The boy with disheveled dark green hair glared resolutely at his opponents, his fists clenched. Smoke rose from his tattered green shirt, indicating that he was the one who had destroyed the weapon. Screw summer break. Time to kick some villain ass. The villain who had been the owner of that weapon quickly recovered from his surprise and advanced towards Izuku, but was intercepted by Tiger, the only male member of the Wild Pussycats, with whom he began exchanging punches at high speed. The other villain was a mutant with green scaly skin and purple hair, and he also had weapons. A Zanbato-like nonsense, which was nothing more than a bunch of knives. Mandalay, the leader of the Wild Pussycats, engaged Spinner in hand-to-hand combat, distracting him at times with her telepathy, with thoughts of how, supposedly, handsome he was. Watching the blue flames spread, Todoroki created an ice dome around that section of the forest. The ice soon turned into water thanks to the heat of the flames, creating an artificial rain. Todoroki reinforced the ice with more layers, as it was obvious that the blue fire villain could try to melt the dome he had just created, causing an artificial rain that would extinguish the flames. He created hundreds of ice spikes that jutted into the forest, and when the blue fire melted them, it extinguished the fire, just as Todoroki had planned. "You're doing well, kid." Everyone looked disturbed, when a villain wearing a leather mask on his face, a black leather straitjacket, who walked using his very long teeth, appeared. "But this is the end of the road. Where is Bakugo Katsuki?" The villain threw his teeth at them, as if they were blades. Bakugo was right there and jumped over the blades, passing over the villain's head. "Right here I am. Idiot. Zero distance. Stun grenade." Katsuki swung his hands toward him, causing a massive explosion that kicked up tons of dust and knocked the villain to the ground. One down. The villain facing Tiger is distracted. Tsuyu thought, looking back at the lizard villain. The one facing Mandalay has also been distracted, thanks to the fight and the fact that one of his teammates has been defeated. If I could get close without either of them seeing me, if only I had the chance to be undetectable, to camouflage myself, I could kick him and... "Tsuyu-chan?" Ochako asked, looking from side to side, trying not to be afraid despite being surrounded by villains. "Where did you go?" "I'm right here, Ochako-chan," Tsuyu said, looking at her friend as if she were stupid. "Did fear make you blind or something?" "No, I don't see you." Ochako moved her eyes from side to side. "Seriously. I can't see you." "It's a frog, and some can camouflage themselves when there are predators," Hagakure explained, "like the lizard, which could be a predator." "Perfect then," said Tsuyu, leaving only a small clump of dust. Everyone assumed she had jumped. The next thing they knew, the lizard crouched down, as if carrying something very heavy, followed by a kick from Mandalay, to the lizard. "Why has it never happened to me with Habuko-chan?" said her voice from nowhere, while the villain in front of Tiger was preparing to hit him. Hikishi Kenji, 14 counts of armed robbery, 18 counts of assault, and 3 counts of murder. Tiger really tried hard to hit her masculine foe, but the villainess either blocked or dodged his every attack and responded fiercely in hand-to-hand combat. "How do you manage to overcome my feline fighting style?" "Oh, so I'm famous, huh?" Kenji received a hard heel strike directly to the shoulder. "What the hell?" He felt something wet wrap around his legs. "What the hell is this?" He was dragged until he was hanging from a tree branch, before being freed and receiving a powerful blow from Tiger directly to the face, leaving him lying on the ground. The pro heroes ordered the students to enter the cabin while they tried to track down other villains. But not everyone listened. Momo gave Tetsu and Itsuka Kendo oxygen masks and they went into the forest to search for the villain causing the purple smoke. Tetsu and Itsuka Kendo entered the forest and headed in a direction Kendo told her, as she was the one who noticed that the gas was not spreading any further than that, for a certain distance, so it was someone's kosei. Following his instincts, Tetsu went straight ahead. It was the best option, as he was shot by the villain, who focused on shooting him, and when Kendo went to catch him, he jumped, demonstrating great agility and fired again, but Tetsu got in the way of the shot and his friend, taking it himself. They both stood still, but it was to listen for their enemy coming. The villain said his name was Mustard and was amazed by Tetsu, who could predict the origin of the shots, by getting in the way and taking them himself, on behalf of Kendo. Seeing that they weren't going anywhere, Kendo slammed his giant hands on the ground, causing the wind pressure to make smoke rise, giving Tetsu the opportunity to punch Mustard. The villain focused on the boy of steel and was instead caught by Kendo's giant hands, who slammed him against a tree repeatedly until he was on the ground. A villain dressed as a dandy, with a yellow trench coat and a white mask with black details, entered the enclosure where the students were, and when everyone tried to attack him, especially Bakugo, he just waited and the explosion never happened. He proudly showed a marble and threw it towards the students. It was like an explosive marble. When they threw their koseis, they were captured in the marbles and used against the students. Finally, inside one of those hundreds of marbles was Bakugo. The villain seemed to open his mouth, either to say something or to mock everyone, but a strange mud shot out, to envelop him and disappear. Bakugo was kidnapped, without anyone being able to do anything to prevent it. Bakugo was handcuffed by the villains. The boy wasn't stupid. Was he arrogant because of his kosei? Yeah. But he was no fool. There were too many of them for him, he had no backup, and he was handcuffed. Besides, he didn't know the koseis of each and every one of them. Finally, their leader, Shigaraki, stood up and approached him. This might be sudden, but wouldn't you be interested in joining us? Bakugo, however, showed a sadistic smile. Spare me your shit and die. You like winning, don't you? Tamura asked, to which Bakugo glared at him. Dabi, please take off his restraints. This kid's going to go crazy once we do, Shigaraki, the blue fire user warned. If we want him to join us, we must show him that we truly treat him as an equal, Tamura said. Twice. Remove his restraints. Dabi ordered. I apologize for being so rude to you, however, please understand that we are just a group of thugs willing to commit sinister acts. We didn't just casually decide to kidnap you, Twice said. Everyone here has their own circumstances, but people, rules, heroes. We are all bound by them and some of us had no choice but to turn to crime. As soon as Bakugo was free, he launched an explosion at Tamura, but before he could put his power into form, someone knocked on the door. I'm here with your pizza order, said a powerful voice, while the villains looked at each other in confusion. Who ordered a pizza? Twice assured that it wasn't him. Cheese, pepperoni, sausage, kavanos and an extra of justice. The door was knocked down and the heroes entered, commanded by All Might. Sensei Hitsubaku Urushi Saro, preventive chain prison. Kamui Woods' hands stretched out, allowing him to quickly capture all the league members. When Dabi tried to set fire to Kamui Woods, he was hit by an old man. Don't be hasty. You'd better stay put. A black mass emerged from nowhere and the Nomus invaded the place. The police arrived and started shooting, to stop the Nomus. The villains and Katsuki vomited a black substance, which enveloped them and took them all out of the place. Dash 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 dash. Dash 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 dash. Tamura looked at the man dressed in a business suit and wearing a skull-like mask with a respiratory system. Sensei. I've brought your comrades, Tamura-kun, and also this young man, whom you consider so important. Bakugo Katsuki-kun, said the man, who was staring at Tamura. Remember this very well, all of this is for and about you. The masked man looked up. Whine, huh, All Might fell from the skies with his fists out in front of him, held by the villain. I'll make you give it all back, all for one. All Might said. Are you going to kill me again, All Might? All for one asked, amused by the situation. Beneath both of them, a crater formed due to the pressure they both exerted. You sure took your time getting here, huh? There are 5 kilometers between the bar and this place. It took you a good 30 seconds after I sent the Nomus for you to get here. You've softened, huh, All Might? Look who's saying it. What's up with that industrial strength mask you're wearing? The symbol of peace asked. Don't you think you're trying too hard? I won't make the same mistake I made 5 years ago, all for one. I'm going to bring Bakugo Shonen back to UA and make sure you and your puppet lead are permanently locked away. A pillar of mustard light appeared in the place. Before the light could reveal who it was, the person shouted archaic breath, Glyptodon. It was a mustard-colored ranger, who showed a weapon that seemed to be some kind of sword, quickly transformed into a laser, which he fired at All Might, who dodged it at high speed, while the explosion did not even touch him. Tamura flashed a smile behind the hand he used as a mask. Black Oblivion. Go. A black ranger's suit appeared, covering him and launching himself at All Might. All for one woke Kurogiri up with a kosei that made the bartender's eyes turn bright blue and took them all away from there, except for All Might, who in a second was next to the young man, sending him flying, who used his explosions to get out of there. He knew that All Might could fight comfortably, without him by his side. This is just between us. All Might went against him, while All for One's arm grew grotesquely and fired a gust of wind, which sent All Might flying. Atmospheric compression, corkscrew, locomotion, explosiveness, muscle improvement. This combination is fun. I should add more augmentation class koseis. All Might returned at full speed. All for One opened his non-existent eyes behind the mask. Has your speed increased? He wondered. But how is this possible? He only heard smash as he flew away. He knew something had broken and now he even had trouble standing up in the past. That fist of yours knocked down many of my allies and yet, they praised you as the symbol of peace. I'm going to put you behind bars. All Might's fist fell with all its weight on the villain. I've heard those words before, from the 7th cover of One for All, Shimura Nana. All Might was sent flying by his enemy's air cannon and was saved by his former master, Gran Torino, who arrived on the battlefield. Surely, you felt something when you saw Tamura-kun, didn't you? What are you talking about? The blonde asked, confused. Yes, maybe. Something in his aura or his attitude. Something familiar. A little voice that told you that you already knew this, but which you decided to silence, didn't you? Don't listen to him, Toshinori. Gran Torino ordered. All for One created a portal and from it, extracted a paper that he threw to them. It was the page of a newspaper from many years ago. All members of the Shimura family died, except Tenko, who disappeared. That's because I arrived in time, while I saw him use his kosei on his father, Shimura Kotaro, with all the hatred that a 4-year-old child could unleash on his abusive father. The one you call Shigaraki Tamura, the Black Oblivion Ranger, is the grandson of Shimura Nana. A heavy silence fell, and seeing that All Might did not react, as he expected, the villain sighed. It's time for you to die. Hypertrophy, spring limbs, bone spears, screws, muscle widening x3, explosiveness x4, action and reaction x3. I'm going to destroy you with the largest amount of koseis I've ever collected. All for One went against All Might, clashing fists, but All Might's arm deflated, the other swelled up and connected with a powerful punch to All Might's face. Charisma Hero United States of Smash. His ranger suit appeared over his body, multiplying his basic abilities, as well as his physical strength, and with a punch that not only carried the power of One for All but also the Charisma Morpher, All Might left All for One on the ground, badly injured. All for One felt not only his life draining away, but he also, literally, heard the voices of the former bearers of their koseis and could feel several of them fading away inside All for One. Comment down your favorite part from this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.